You are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and joining us in studio for this episode is world champion bull rider Kody Lostroh. Cody has had an unbelievable career and is still heavily involved with the PBR. He's currently the PBR head coach of the New York Mavericks bull riding team. Cody won a world title in 2009 in the PBR World Championships. Cody has had an unbelievable career as a professional bull rider. But beyond rodeo, Cody focuses his time on his family, being a houndsman, hunting, advocating for hunting, and is the vice president of the United Houndsmen of Colorado. I really enjoyed having Cody in today. Sitting down, getting to know him was a real honor. Enjoy our conversation. Honor and privilege to have you in here. Colorado royalty in my eyes. Followed your bull riding career for quite a while, and what an amazing career.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me in, and you by far got one of the coolest studios I've been in. So,
nice.
It's always fun. But yeah, I mean, heck, that means a lot. I don't ever see myself as any different than anybody else. Just happen to accomplish some goals that we're kind of in the spotlight.
No, absolutely, man. And I don't think it's anything to shelf or anything like that, man. You are Colorado royalty in my eyes, man. Like, there's a few people, like Scott Parker's one of them, my buddy from the Avalanche, Stanley Cup, world champs, Derek Wolf, another one, like guys like that, being born and raised here in Colorado. And then I grew up in kind of a rodeo family as well. So I've just always kind of followed the sport, and bull riding is definitely the pinnacle of that.
Well, it's the most exciting.
Bronc riders might argue some different stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, it's always the most exciting, and that's what everybody pays attention to.
You were born and raised right here in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Longmont, so not far from here.
Did you grow up like on a ranch or something, or was bull riding? It always kind of fascinates me because there's a lot of kids like myself that grew up around horses and around rodeo families, and there was a ranch in our family at one point, but that faded throughout the generations with property loss and just all kinds of different stuff. But they were still heavily involved with rodeo, but they weren't really cowboys. They were rodeo cowboys.
Yeah, and there is a difference between cowboys and rodeo cowboys. And I kind of fell into the cowboy rancher farmer upbringing, I guess. My parents split when we were young. My mom remarried, and that side of the family had a farm there in Colorado. Or there in Colorado. I just got done saying I'm a native, but in Longmont. And we raised buffalo, we raised cattle, we raised horses, and then farmed, putting up hay and all that stuff. So that was kind of it for me. That's what I grew up doing from the time I was 10 till I was 18. That's where I worked and made a living. And I don't know, the rodeo side of things, nobody ever did that in my family. I wasn't far from it, but I just hadn't experienced rodeo. And then I got into it when I was young just because I had a tape of Cheyenne Frontier Days that really caught my eye. And yeah, it just took off from there. But as far as upbringing into the rodeo, yeah, it was kind of, I was leading the way, no one had done it before.
It's incredible what you had. I mean, I even followed it at the high school level a little bit.
Oh,
and
no
I know
kidding.
you were a 3-time state champ then. Right?
Yeah.
In high school and stuff. Where'd you go to high school at?
I went to Longmont High.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a full rodeo team? And
No.
Oh,
no.
really?
I think I was the only guy in Longmont that rodeoed.
Really?
Yeah. And honestly, like, I was kind of a little hellion in high school, and I got kicked out my senior year, and I had enough credits to graduate, so it was perfect for me. I was just, all right, send me loose. I'm going to go rodeo now. But yeah, no rodeo at all at Longmont High. That's kind of more of a college deal once you get into the
Gotcha.
Collegiate ranks.
yeah, high school rodeo's crazy. I think it's the only high school sport that you can actually win like prize money at and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
There's so much cost accrued with it because all the travel, and I think, didn't you make it to the national level?
Yeah. So my freshman year, I was just telling my daughter this because she's doing junior high rodeo right now.
Oh, nice.
And we were in Craig this last weekend at the rodeo there. But I was just telling her, she's like talking about jackpots and making money and this and that versus these high school rodeos. And I told her, I was like, well, my freshman year, I didn't high school rodeo really at all because I could make more money going to jackpots, and I rode good enough to do it. But then a buddy of mine, really good buddy of mine, made the high school nationals my freshman year. He was a year older than me. And I was like, golly, that looks like, opened my eyes like there's more to this than just money.
Yeah.
And so then I rodeoed the next 3 years in one state, my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then I'm trying to think, I think it was my junior year. Well, I went to nationals all 3 of those years, but my junior year I was runner-up.
You placed in nationals, I guess is what I was meant to say.
Yeah, I was second that year.
Wow.
And then I think that was the year I won the Little Britches world title as well, quote-unquote world title amongst the kids. So, yeah, I mean, it was busy time going to a lot of events.
So when it came to starting rodeo, like what was kind of the catalyst to push you into that? And then were you just winning like right out of the gate? No pun intended, but like, I mean, that's a pretty crazy career. And I mean, we're going to dive into it more, but weren't you the PRCA Rookie of the Year and PBR Rookie of the Year?
Close, yeah. So I guess to start your question there, I'd mentioned I'd had a tape of Cheyenne Frontier Days. I think I had that when I was 6, maybe 7.
Okay.
And it was of 1989, so that was the year the Lane Frost got killed at Cheyenne. And for those that don't know, Lane Frost was a world champion that I think he won the world the year I was born, 85. Was very popular at that time. And not that I followed rodeo, I didn't know about him, but that just happened to be the year he got killed. So that tape was special, not, I don't want to say special in his death, but it was unique. Anyhow, I'd watch it over and over and over, and the bull riding just fascinated me. And then I'd go ride the dog or ride the couch or whatever I could get over the top of, And my mom actually, believe it or not, she signed me up to ride a steer at our county fair, at the Boulder County Fair. And so I had no idea what I was doing, right? I had no equipment. Like I said, I didn't come from a rodeo family. And so I show up, no equipment, and they're like, well, where's your rope? I said, I don't know. I thought you had one for me. And so they ended up finding me a rope. I had on a bike helmet, pulled down, cinched around my chin, and got on, fell off. But it was the most fun like I'd ever had in my life. And so I kept doing it and kept entering. And my mom thought, well, I'll quit when it come time to ride bulls. And then it come time to ride bulls, I didn't want to quit. And she begged me and fought me. And I love my mom to death. If you're listening to this, Mom, I don't hold it against you, because I'd have probably done the same thing. But yeah, we fought tooth and nail over this bull riding thing, and she finally realized that I'm not gonna quit. I'll go do it however I got to do it. But I loved it, so she gave in, kind of ish.
Yeah, that's got to be a scary ass thing as a parent, man. Like I was scared with my son playing football, but as like climbing on rough stock, that's a whole nother ball game of just hurt. I mean, it's a bunch of car crashes, really.
Yeah, and you're going to get hurt. That's the thing. Like,
right.
As a parent, you don't want your kids to get hurt. When they go into rough stock, they will get hurt, period. And even now with my girls rodeoing, they're barrel racing and goat tying, these high speed, very slight room for error type activities. And I still deal with it. Even as a bull rider, I'm like, I hope her horse doesn't fall. I hope, her legs are strong when she gets off this horse that's running wide open, and in the goat tying. So, yeah, it's a challenge to deal with that danger aspect.
So did your mom just kind of give up? Was it a fight, or did she just kind of give in and let you do what you wanted? Or?
Well, yeah, I mean, a little of both. Like it was a fight, and she never got comfortable with it. Even when I was, winning the world title and she was there to watch, she was always pretty nervous, which I can understand. But that's good. It makes for a good story.
Growing up, I grew up kind of Evergreen, believe it or not, used to be kind of a rodeo community and that sort of stuff. And growing up around it, I had friends that were climbing on bulls down in like Golden and stuff, and they weren't telling their parents about it on Friday night. You know what I mean? Going to whatever buck out was there or something, and I'd go pull a rope for them or something. And it was like, we weren't supposed to be there. We were supposed to be at the movie theater or some shit, right? Like, and it was kind of that same era when I graduated in 98. So I guess that the Lane Frost movie, I mean, he was so famous that they made a movie after his life. And and it did. That movie created a lot of bull riders. I bet. We need another one, which there was a similar one a few years ago called The Longest Ride. Okay. The PBR was actually involved in the stunt double aspect of that. And so a bunch of us, myself included, went and rode bulls and were stunt doubles for that movie. And we were really hoping, we're like, all right, this is going to be the next, thing that's going to bring a bunch of bull riders.
it was a chick flick, not a rodeo cowboy. Yeah, so the women loved it. I'm not gonna complain. We made some money off of it, but it did not bring the bull riders into the game like we hoped.
Yeah, well, I've done a lot of stupid shit to impress women in my life, so maybe a few, but yeah, there was, I mean, a huge influx in people doing it. It's funny how movies change trends like that. Like, I always thought I wanted to be in the military, and I probably would have growing up if I didn't get in so much trouble. But yeah, just from watching like Rambo and like those iconic, First Blood, 1980 movies, and then, all those sort of things it's funny that the military actually dumps money into some of those films, especially when it comes to like special operations.
Yeah, absolutely.
For recruitment. I mean, really, yeah.
And that's really kind of the draw to bull riding and the military, I feel like, is it's the unknown, the danger, the living moment to moment, doing what it takes to do your job and survive. It's appealing to young men for sure.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Anything a little bit dangerous, right?
That's right. Being close to the edge makes you feel very alive, I feel like.
It does. I mean, that's still why I bow hunt. That's still why I do not super extreme things, but I did when I was younger. You know, like riding dirt bikes or climbing on horses or doing whatever, whatever got you that little bit of natural high.
Oh, for
and
sure.
like adrenaline high, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't replace that with any sort of narcotic or anything like that, I don't think.
No, and you get addicted to it, and it's I think the closest thing I've found to riding bulls is skydiving, and
Really?
I'm sure that high would kind of wear off the more I did it as well, because it would
you get complacent, right?
Yeah, it's like the first time you do it, it's just like riding a bull. You nod your head and it's like, all right, let's see how this goes, and jumping out of a plane the same way. I'm like, if this is the last thing I do, we might as well enjoy it,
Yeah. Did that feeling ever kind of wear off, I guess, as you progressed in your career? Because like, not only starting from a young age on a steer and then to the point where you're riding the rankest bulls in the world, right? Like, does that adrenaline, do you ever get complacent or comfortable, or do you have to like catch yourself and bring yourself back to a little bit of that?
Yeah, a little of both, honestly. Like when you're first starting out, it's like if you go to the very beginning, it's almost like blackout. Like everything is just happening so fast, and it's such an adrenaline dump, and you're a little like you're not in control of the situation. But then you get to control it, and you can control your mind, control the outcome of a lot of things. That complacency doesn't come until later on, when I've experienced it. I've seen it happen in other guys' careers as well, where you've done something over and over and over and then become a little calloused to the effects of the adrenaline, to the danger, all that other type of stuff. So to keep it fresh is always, an important thing to be successful. Because usually when guys get complacent, that's when they're not riding like they should. They get hurt, and it does happen. But there is no other feeling in the world like riding a really, really good bull. There's just nothing like it,
It's so rock star too, man. Like the way that the PBR like puts it on, and my background is rock and roll entertainment, and the PBR is taking that approach in pyrotechnics and lights and lasers and fucking the smoke and music. It's so badass, man. It's incredible to go to one of those bull rides.
It's a heck of a show, and that's really what separated it, right? Mm-hmm. Is bull riding was already exciting, and somehow they made it even more exciting. And it's every event's 2.5 hours of entertainment. You don't leave there disappointed.
It's a full-on production. Is it partnered with like WWF?
I think E.
And then also the UFC now.
Yeah.
It's all kind of one big partnership. Like I know Dana White owns a bull now, doesn't he? Or
yeah.
Something like that.
And he got on one, actually.
He did?
Yeah. I don't know if it was before or after he got into the owning them side of things. Yeah, but
like recently he got on.
I don't know when it was.
50s or something, I think. Yeah.
He did. He got on when he talks about it. He says it's the dumbest thing he's ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
Sarah, you got to Google this. I got to see Dana White ride a bull. I'm a huge fan of Dana White, and we have a lot of UFC fighters in here and stuff. But
yeah,
it was kind of funny. We had we've had this kid in a couple times. He's not a kid. Whoop my ass. Yusuf Zalal.
Okay.
He's this Muslim dude from North Africa, from Morocco, and is just like the most charismatic piece of work, always happy, like a pleasure to be around. I think he's going to be a superstar in the UFC, man. But anyways, the PBR invited him like for the little backstage tour where they're, you know, going behind the shoots and all that sort of stuff. And to see his reaction was hilarious. So it's cool that they're kind of, Cowboys involved too. Huh?
Yeah, he actually used to own. There was a program that the partner of the PBR, it's called the ABBI, the American Bucking Bull Incorporated. They had a program where people could buy bulls and compete with them, and they didn't have to like handle them and have a facility for them and everything. And Cowboys Cerrone, he bought one of the bulls that I raised.
Yeah, he was like training to ride or something. Then had an
injury
or something.
He was practicing and tore his bicep off the bone.
Shit,
yeah. But
That'll
the UFC guys have been in there. Yeah, this is just Dana's bull.
Oh, okay. Yeah, keep digging, see if you can find it. I got to see that. That's pretty ballsy, man. I don't think I would do that. Well, maybe.
There's do you remember Chad Ochocinco? He is a football player.
Yeah.
He might still play football. I'm not sure, but he was kind of mouthing off one year like, "Oh, give me the best bull you got. I can ride him." You know, very confident in abilities that he didn't possess. And so the CEO of the PBR called him out. He's like, "Okay, come on." And then it turned into this big deal where he wanted, at the time, Bushwhacker was the best bull going, and he wanted Bushwhacker. And we're like, "We can't put you on Bushwhacker. Like, it'll kill you. Yeah. So we put him on, well, I say we, I didn't have anything to do with it, but the PBR put him on a bull called Deja Blue, which at the time was a short round bull, like a legit, you know, really, really good bull. And, you know, I don't know if this is PC or not, but if you were ever going to see a black man turn white, that was the night to see it, because
I'm sure
I've never seen somebody so terrified, but he went ahead and did it. You know, he got on.
Wow.
And it was cool to see him. I mean, I shout out to him. Like,
did he have any sort of training or anything?
They kind of showed him the basics, you know.
Kind of have to know, or you could get hurt in the shoot.
Yeah. But he went through it, you know, and he got bucked off immediately.
Wow.
But he got up and said, "Bull riders should be the highest paid athletes in sports, hands down, no questions asked."
Absolutely, man.
Which I would like to agree with that as a former bull rider. But yeah, there's been various, you know, other professional athletes kind of dip their toes into the bull riding world, and it's always a big eye opener for them to see, like, this is real life and death, and it's a big boy sport. You know, it's not for everybody.
If you're not checking out the Mountainside Podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. Rodeo cowboys, or they used to, and, you know, Hollywood glamorizing like your Tough Hedemans and that sort of stuff kind of made them look like rock stars and that sort of stuff. But like the level that you were playing at, you guys perform and cross train just like pro athlete. You guys are professional athletes. Like the amount of training and stuff that goes into it, and strength and conditioning and stuff outside of it, like super dedicated people. And you have to be to play at that level. Yeah,
it's gotten to be more that way in recent years, you know. Kind of the old school mentality is
the Marlboro man.
Yeah, they're there for.
Well, we still got JV smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Is this Dana here?
Yeah.
Is it him? I think this is this.
It looks. Oh,
sorry, we'll circle back to that. It almost looks like it's AI or something, doesn't it?
I guess this is back in 2000.
Yeah, give us some volume if you can, Sarah.
15?
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking at all. I just put myself in.
I've actually never seen this. I've just heard about it.
He told me to look down at the neck, and I said, "Go."
Oh.
Automatic DQ, right?
Yeah.
Scariest, craziest.
Shout out to Dana White, man.
Yeah.
6 inches more, you'd have fucking lost your nose. I literally skid across the dirt, and his feet come right down next to stomping me.
Wow. He's got to be a fan of bull riding, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Cowboys are tough motherfuckers.
I wonder how old he was when he got on that one.
well, he was super out of shape here, too, if it was
Yeah.
2015, because he's built like a Greek god now, man. Like, whatever program he's on.
Imagine it's like woke up the next day and my knee blown up like a friggin' baseball. Now it's hurt, and so I moved it up his vagina.
Oh, that's
shit.
awesome. Yeah, that's good watching. I haven't seen
Yeah.
that before.
I found here that that was a bull named F-Bomb. They later purchased his other bulls. So
Okay.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Thanks for finding that. Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to Dana, man. I wouldn't be doing that right now. I'm 45. Like, that's the last thing I'm going to do is go crawl on a bull, especially a real bucking bull. There's levels to this shit, right?
Yeah. There's full size bulls that don't buck, and there's legit bucking bulls. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's cool. Like totally hats off to them guys that do have no business whatsoever doing it, and they still go through with it because it's a scary thing, especially if you're old enough to know what paint hardy is. You know, when you're a kid, it's a little different. You're ignorant enough maybe that you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but these guys, they know.
Before we started watching this, we were just diving into like cross training
Oh yeah.
and that sort of thing. And there are a few guys out there that are kind of taking, or they portray that they're taking that old school mindset, right, of partying and smoking and doing whatever they want, right?
Yeah, and that used to be pretty common. That there was a party going on, and there just happened to be bull riding there as well. And that was really the old way of things.
Right.
But the bulls have gotten so much better. There's always been good bulls, but now there's a lot. I mean, there's just good bulls everywhere you look. There's great bulls. So guys have had to adapt. They'd be dead if they didn't. And so now you're seeing, within the past 10, 12 years that these guys are actually training like athletes and
Well, they train the bulls almost like,
Yeah.
I mean, the bulls are treated like athletes.
Oh,
right?
100%. Yeah.
They're named, they're kept,
their nutrition,
Supplement,
nutrition and exercise regimen. I mean, nowadays when a bull comes rolling in the chute, they're as hard as this table that we're sitting at, and you can feel that you're getting on something that's nothing but muscle that weighs 10 times more than you.
They can move like a house cat. Too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the thing.
And so, if you don't train, you're not going to keep up. And there's some guys that have been successful still staying with the old, just partying and showing up to ride a bull mentality. But there's very, very few guys that can cut it doing that. Most guys, when they try that, they find out real quick that they're not that guy.
Especially once you get to those higher levels, right? I think
Yeah,
I
and
think
why not?
anything at a high level nowadays, like if you look at where the UFC started and where it's at now, and you look at, any sport, football, for example, the NFL, man, it's so insane just to watch the progression and see how much these guys are or the levels that they're performing at and the strength. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
And bull riding's been very much the same, I feel like.
Oh, for sure. And you've always got the guys that want to win, and they're going to do whatever it takes to that extra effort, that extra work, whatever it takes to win, they're willing to do that.
Yeah.
So you get more and more of those guys in the same room. They keep pushing each other, and before you know it, now it's a movement. Everybody's training harder and working harder, and then you see more performance. You see records get broken. I love it. I love how each generation can springboard off the successes of the previous one. And I think we're really seeing a lot of that right now, not only in the bucking bulls themselves, but the riders as well.
Has rider retention, because it's such a kind of a niche sport, and to make it as a pro, and I wonder how many parents say no and how many world champs there aren't because their parents wouldn't let them ride bulls, because like my buddies were going secretively, right?
Yeah.
And when their dad did find out, took their car, all kinds of shit, right? So it's like, I'm not saying that, but there's got to be like some of that to it too, I would think. Like, how is the sport bigger than it's ever been, or is it kind of go ups and downs? Or, the PBR is crushing. They have like an event pretty much every week. Now they have the team aspect to it. Like, they're adding some new elements.
Yeah. It's bigger now than it's ever been. PBR's grown every year. Their fan base has grown. The payouts, to the riders have always been good, and they increase periodically. But as far as the riders themselves, the pool of riders has shrunk. And for a lot of those reasons you just said, like, it's a scary, dangerous deal. And a lot of parents say no. And so now we're seeing like our pool of kids that are wanting to try this has shrunk. And you can't blame them, really. I mean, the Western mentality, the Western lifestyle,
It's going away.
it's just become replaced more and more by urban life. And then just on the sports side of things, you can go play football or baseball, which have some inherent danger to them, or you can go play something that you're going to get hurt at and ride bulls. And that takes a different type of idiot. I don't know what the right word is for it, because
You have to really want to do it.
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
you got to be, if you love something enough that you're willing to die for it, then you can be truly successful. But you can't be half-assed in riding bulls. Like, if you don't have that mentality that I'm willing to die for this, it's not for you. And that's a tough pill to swallow, because it is. It's really cool. It's really, glamorous or whatever, but there is a real price to pay if it goes wrong. So anyhow, that being said, our rider pool has shrunk. And now in Brazil, it's probably grown. In Brazil, there's a lot more poverty, a lot less options for young kids that can play soccer or ride
It's a
bulls.
way out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can go from Brazil to the United States. If you're successful here, you can ride for 4 or 5 years and go live like a king in Brazil the rest of your life.
Wow.
So you see a lot more guys doing that just because out of, necessity. That's their option.
The career goes by in the blink of an eye, right? Like, even though you started from a kid, like, your professional career is very, very short-lived, like probably shorter than like any other sport, I would imagine. Like, it's
Typically.
on average, right?
Yeah.
Because of the tolls on the body.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, I don't know, name a sport. There's not a lot that guys go for 10 years. Bull riding's that to the extreme, right? Like, a lot of guys come in and might ride professionally for a few years, and then they either realize they don't have what it takes, or they're so beat up they can't go anymore. So if you've got an 8 to 10 year career, that's pretty dang good. And if you go beyond 10, that's a really, really long
Yeah.
career. And the pits is you don't get to pick when it ends most of the time.
Right.
It's chosen for you.
It's weird too, because I guess to take it back to performance here for just a minute. Sorry, man.
No,
I have a
you're
million
good.
questions on this, because we've never had a pro bull rider in. Like, I've been around a few, but not
Yeah.
of your caliber. So I think it's amazing, and I'm a fan of it. So I'm going to fanboy you here for a little bit
All
longer.
good, man.
So correct me if I'm wrong on this, most bull riders, they don't sign contracts with like the PBR, right, to ride for them exclusively, because some of them are still chasing the NFR, right, which is the National Finals Rodeo, which is ran through the PRCA.
Yep.
And there's all these different organizations now that you can go and ride for, but the money doesn't really cross over, and it's kind of how they're ranked in the world, right, is on prize money a lot of times, or points. I think the
Yep.
PBR is points, right?
Yeah, the PBR's changed a little bit over the years, but
Okay.
it's either, it's a point system.
But I've always kind of wondered and I'm sure I could Google this to find out this information, but I want to get the ground truth from you. And if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. But because you're an independent contractor, is there some sort of insurance plan set up for you? And then is there also like a USADA that's involved for like performance enhancing supplements? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
gotcha,
So
gotcha.
like drug testing for steroids, or, it's crazy. I know some UFC athletes, and the shit that they get tested for, they can't take, like, for example, an off the shelf like Tylenol PM, because it'll be
No kidding.
show up as a narcotic. And it's some supplements, right? Like
Gotcha.
supplements that they sell at GNC. So I'm just using that as kind of like an example. But
Yeah. Yeah. So there's certain substances that are illegal. As far as the testing the PBR does, it's never been an issue. I can't say they've never done it, but it's not widespread. Typically, for a lot of the reasons that different other sports take, different supplements, doesn't necessarily always apply to bull riding. Like, hey, let's use steroids because that's an easy one, As a bull rider, you're never going to be stronger than a bull. I don't care how strong you are, it's never going to happen. So what we have going for us is speed and agility. And you don't want to be big and bulky. You want to be as light and as strong as possible. And that's why you see a lot of bull riders, they're smaller in stature. A lot of them are skinny. To be honest with you, some of them are just like skeletons. I don't think that's optimal, but it works for them, those particular guys. So, there's more, restrictions on the bulls, right? Like they actually do get tested for steroids and for different stuff that would increase their testosterone beyond what it should be. Because you can create some monsters with those drugs when it comes to people and bulls. So
look at baseball in the 90s, dude. It was the best time in baseball. Like your Mark McGuire's and Barry Bonds just like crushing home runs every game, like.
Yeah. But yeah, at the moment, there's some restrictions on bull riders too, but it's not a problem.
Okay. And then dealing with injuries, like, are you set to carry? I think that this is also a misconception with rodeos. Like, because you're an independent contractor, now it's you're now responsible for all your travel costs, how you get there, whether you're flying first class or, driving across the country. And then as spread out as they are, if you want to be competitive, a lot of these guys, like I see guys in the airport all the time with their saddle bronc saddles, like going through the airport or whatever. And it's unique, wild, man.
That's a unique part of this, right? Is like you mentioned, everybody's an independent contractor. So you're responsible for all of it, health insurance, travel, all that stuff. And on the health insurance side of things, the PBR and PRCA both have basically they have policies that every time you pay an entry fee, a portion of that entry fee goes towards this insurance policy. But being completely blunt, it's crap. Like they don't help much. It's basically a secondary insurance to cover a little bit of what your primary wouldn't cover.
What is it like for you talking to an insurance agent and like trying to get insurance? And what the fuck are the premiums like, dude? Like
they're crazy. And as a young guy, when you're young and single, it's not terrible. But as you age and you're doing, one of the most dangerous sports in the world, they charge you a lot. And a lot of guys have gone to almost like cost sharing programs. And actually, so AFLAC, that was meant to be just kind of short term type deal. The reason they don't offer it to bull riders anymore is because of one of my buddies that just got hurt and it was over and over and over, and he couldn't ever get back to competing, and he was on AFLAC for 3 years, and after they finally got him off, they cut it off, said no more rodeo guys.
Wow.
So it's a challenge. It is, and that's the unique thing about bull riders and independent contractors is you got to sort all that out yourself, and there is some freedom to being an independent contractor. You go where you want, when you want. These guys, they're not signed exclusively with the PBR or PRCA. Where that's changed a little bit is in the team side of things now at the PBR, because there is some contracts involved. So that changes things for some guys. It's not going to change them for everybody.
But that's only when they're in the team element, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and some guys, some teams will pay guys not to compete in other places because they want them healthy for the teams. And other teams are like, I don't care where you compete as long as you're getting on and improving all the time, then we're good with it. So, that's a big challenge there. And it does. I know guys that have gone bankrupt several times when they got hurt because they didn't have insurance.
Winning millions of dollars a year, right? I know how much it costs to go to the hospital because I've been there a couple times. And thank God I've had insurance most of the times, but it's crazy just for, an MRI or something like that. You're talking 20, 30 grand, and the injuries that you guys are sustaining probably are high level that probably require just stuff like that. And that's a really basic thing. Then you get into surgeries and anesthesias and all that shit adds up. And next thing you know, you could have a $500,000 hospital bill for a couple nights in the hospital or a surgery and a recovery or something like that. How do you balance that?
You kind of hope to get a little lucky, to be honest with you. There's been times I didn't have adequate coverage or any, and you just hope it don't happen then.
Wow.
It's not the smartest idea, but there's not a whole lot of options as a bull rider. And so you got to make the best decision that you can in the moment.
So everything's a gamble pretty much.
Yeah. Not only your competition, but your insurance and all that stuff.
Wow.
But I think a lot of guys don't understand too, like the insurance versus self-pay rates and the fact that you can dispute different charges and stuff. That's a whole nother subject. But like a good example would be like I had to have a tumor taken out of my neck one time, and they were going to charge the insurance company like $750,000. And long story, but I ended up doing a self-pay deal instead, and it was 10% of that.
Yeah, see, it's so fucked up because it's basically a money laundering scheme, right? Because the hospitals are turning around and charging the insurance companies these astronomical rates, and then insurance rates go up. So like a guy like you that has a super dangerous job is paying the most amount of premium that there is because they know at some point in the year you're going to go to the hospital, maybe multiple times, right? And then if you turn around and pay cash for it, it's like, so I'm doing some hormone replacement.
Okay.
And the doc prescribed me the hormone, and I went in and my insurance wouldn't cover it. So they were like, it'll be $1,100 through the insurance. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm not going to do it then,
Yeah.
I was like, is there any other way to pay for this? Can I pay out of pocket? They were like, oh, yeah. And then if you go and get this coupon on
$100.
GoodRx, no, it's $21.
Oh, my gosh.
So that just shows you, like, to me, it's just robbery.
Yeah.
And it's blatant. And it's messed up, man. Like, what a shitty system.
It is. Like, you're thankful for the healthcare, but the way it's set up and the prices and all that is out of control.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, how can you go from $1,100 to $2,195 or whatever? I mean, the coupon was 95% off or something like.
And they're not losing money on it, right? Like they're still covering their expense. So how do you get between this cost and 1,000% more? I just don't get it.
Yeah, man. And I don't trust the healthcare system right now at all. Like, I mean, you've probably dealt with it so many times where if you go into these doctors, sometimes like, prime example, Cody Brundage, who we've had on, incredible guy. I think he's in the top 15 right now in the UFC in the middleweight division. Great dude, great father, trains right down the road here at Factory X. His daughter has some rare disease. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like 1 in 100 people, or I'm sorry, there's only 100 people in the world
really
that have this disease, right? So they discovered it when I think his daughter... I'm speaking for him, so I'm sorry if I'm getting any of this wrong, Cody. They discovered it when his daughter was super young, like 1-2 years old or something. And they wanted to give her open brain surgery.
Really?
And Cody was like, no, hold on just a minute. Like, are there any other alternatives? And they're like, well, we could try by changing her diet. And he's like, well, where's the fucking middle ground, right? Because, like, you're talking about open brain surgery and then cutting gluten out of their diet. Like, we're going to start with that.
Yeah, let's start with the least invasive.
But he's like, I feel like if we would have just agreed and taken the expert's advice and not like that, she would have had open brain surgery.
Really?
Like, yeah. I mean, you never know. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'm sure I know you've been through some stuff like that. How many hospital trips have you had, or can you even remember? Or what were the most serious injuries, I guess?
Yeah. So you're asking me basically how many
tumor,
grains of sand are on the beach?
Yeah.
That's what you're asking me.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, for example, I have an uncle that rode bulls professionally, not quite to your level, and this was a few years ago, but I think he broke his back twice.
Yeah.
He got bucked off a workhorse and broke his back again.
Oh,
so he's
crap.
had like 3 broken backs or broke his back 3 times. And pays for it every day now,
Yeah. It's excessive. All the injuries. I couldn't tell you how many times I've had to go to the hospital for injuries, but the same deal. I broke my back twice, multiple ribs and arms and legs and broken face bones, eye socket, cheekbone, nose, all that crap. One of the most painful, probably, though, if we're talking just pain, I separated my pelvis. So in the bottom of your pelvis, you've got, where the pelvic bones come together. It's just held together by like cartilage. And that pulled apart. And so it felt like I was splitting in two, sorry if I'm too graphic, but from my taint to my chest, like clear up the middle of me.
Yeah, we have no filters here, by the way, so
right,
that's great description.
And, cowboy mentality, just get tougher. And that's usually sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
So were you still getting on bulls?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah. So I didn't know what was wrong, right? I just knew I was hurt, and you're always hurt, so you just get tough. And ironically, I thought my groins were being pulled. Each groin muscle on each side of your legs, you use those a lot as a bull rider, squeezing, and those get sore a lot, and even get torn. Like mine on my my right leg is torn completely in half.
Really?
Yeah, I never got it fixed, so it's just like a big gap where this muscle used to be, and then a giant ball up top.
Oh shit.
But anyway, so I thought my groins were hurting. I was like, golly, and it just kept like moving up further and further up my body until it felt like it was in my
Does it feel
sternum.
like you got kicked in the nuts like constantly, or
No,
is it like that
it just
sort of
feels
pain?
like, imagine somebody's got a hold of each of your legs and you're just being torn apart like a piece of paper.
Oh, man, that might be worse.
It was worse, I promise. So anyhow, during that time, I was just trying to be tough and still ride bulls. And so, yeah, I'm riding through it. And eventually we did figure out what was going on. But even at that, fortunately I was able to get it pulled back together through other means. But the only other fix for it is to surgically go in and pull it back together and put a bar, screw a bar in there to hold it together. But, I mean, pain-wise, that was one of the worst. It was just like excruciating every time. Like you couldn't avoid it. A lot of injuries you can kind of protect it a little bit, but that one not so much.
Right.
But like,
Any neck issues?
I've got a lot of jacked up discs, but I've never broke my neck, fortunately. The back deals were scary. Well, the first one. The second one, I don't even remember when I did it. They found it after the fact.
Wow.
Like it was already starting to heal, and I don't know how it happened. But the first time, it was kind of scary. Like I'd gotten, when you get hung up, your hand gets, stuck in the rope. And how that happens typically, sometimes it can be because your rope's too sticky, but usually it's because your hand rolls over. And so your fingers are on the back of the bull. You can't physically open your hand because a tight rope is in your hand, and
right. You kind of lace it around your fingers, right, to lock yourself into it. So then the moment that your hand does roll over,
you physically
if you can't open
it.
your hand, you're screwed.
No.
Right? You're tied on for a while.
And so that happened, and then my rope actually slid alongside that bull until we were underneath the bull, and then he come down from a kick and stepped both feet in the middle of my back. And as far as bull riding can be scary, and usually when the wreck happens, you're not worried about the outcome. You're just trying to get out of the wreck. When that happened, that was probably the only time in my career where I thought I might die right now. Like I didn't really know what happened, but it hurt really bad and I couldn't breathe, and you could feel something was wrong. But everyone always likes to, oh, are you scared you're going to die? Even like there used to be a show called,
Were you thinking about that? Like in the process? Or?
Not in the process, when I was laying there and couldn't move. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you lost feeling legs and everything?
No, I didn't necessarily lose feeling. I just physically couldn't move. Like I was kind of just broken for a minute.
How did you end up getting out of that? Would bullfighters help
when that
you,
bull stomped on my back, it pulled my hand out.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It sounds bad.
It is bad.
It is bad.
Not to you, but
when bull riders get to talking about it, it's like, oh yeah, he broke my neck and I let it heal and moved on. We don't put too much emphasis on it.
Yeah, like that classic JB Mooney, where he broke his neck and then sitting there on the stretcher smoking a cigarette or whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. You've gone to battle with him a couple times. Is he everything I'm sure he's everything he lives up to be, but is he a good dude? Like,
yeah, JB's a good dude. Yeah. When we were younger, my rookie year was the year before him. So I won Rookie of the Year, and then he come in the next year and won Rookie of the Year. So that was kind of cool. And ironically, I was the first guy that had ever won Rookie of the Year to go on to win a world title, and then JB was the second to ever do it. So not that we mirrored each other's careers, but a lot of the same stuff happened near the same time. So all my professional career, we competed against each other. And when he was younger, he was quite a bit wilder than me, and I was a little more focused on, working out and the diet and all that stuff. I needed every tool I could get to try to beat him, and those other guys. But yeah, he matured and won world titles and has a family now and is doing really well. And it's good to see, people always thought that we had like a rivalry. They're like, oh, rivalry, just because we were different. They thought they wanted us to be like head to head, like, oh, I don't like you. And
right.
That was never the case. Very, very rarely will you see two bull riders that don't respect each other and get along because you're doing something that is an elite group of guys. There's not another guy, an outside person that can step into that group and have the same respect. And it's not anything against anybody else. It's just we have different life experiences that you can't replicate anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. It's crazy because I have a lot of friends, and we have a lot of our guests are from the special operations community, whether they were SEALs or Green Berets or MARSOC Marines or whatever, performing at that high level, tier 1, 2, 3. Where basically they're hunting man. That's their job, right? And I can't compare the two jobs. We can't compare anything that we're talking about, but like coming from a rock and roll touring background, it's just a very fast paced, load in, load out, high adrenaline. I would argue sometimes even more than the rock stars sometimes, just in the elements that we play in. Like, well, you've been to Madison Square Garden. You know what it's like going in there and dealing with like Local One and just like, it's amazing, man. It's like nothing that you'll ever see. And then the PBR, I'm sure that they load in a short time frame. Those buildings are so booked up that you don't have a whole lot of time to put stuff in and get it out and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, it's a quick turnover.
It's a very fast paced lifestyle being on the road like that. And when you start traveling the world, that everyday like normal life just becomes kind of
boring,
dull, right? And so they call it operator syndrome in the military, but I would imagine that applies to a lot of pro athletes too, like Scott, Parker, Derek Wolf, like some of these guys that we were name dropping at the beginning of this. I think that it's just hard to get a thrill.
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it there. It's like there's what you do and then normal life, and one doesn't compare to the other. Like normal life is great, but it's not the same as what you do over here. And I know I'm addicted to it still. Like there's not a day that goes by that I don't absolutely miss riding bulls.
Do you still get on occasionally?
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, everyone's like, I thought you were retired. I said, I am retired, but I'm sure Michael Jordan plays basketball every now and then.
Does
like
Peyton Manning still throw a football? Then fuck off.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it is like even now I find myself, I'm always after the next adventure, and maybe I'll grow out of that eventually, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to keep life exciting.
Sure. Well, you're still heavily involved with it, with head coach of the New York Mavericks.
That's right. Yeah. When the PBR started the team league, I was assistant coach for what was formerly the Oklahoma Freedom, and now they're the Florida Freedom. They moved states. And I did that for 2 years, and then the league expanded and sold 2 more franchises, and I got hired as head coach with the New York team. So, yeah, New York Mavericks is new home, and fortunately I still get to live in Colorado.
New York City bull riding team. That's pretty wild, huh?
You'd never expect it, but I tell you what, the event we had in Brooklyn last year, the crowd was hands down the best we've ever had, period. No questions asked. Like
at Barclays? Or?
Loved it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a cool place.
We were at the Barclays last year, and we'll be at the UBC Center this year.
Nice.
And a lot of them probably had no idea what the rules were, what they were watching, but it was super entertaining, and they had
like me watching soccer.
Yeah. They had the time of their lives.
Did they really? That's crazy, man.
It was great because, in the Western culture, typically the fans aren't booing the other side or whatever.
Right.
Not in New York. They're not afraid to boo you.
There, especially in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Man. That's a little bit different. It's a little bit more salty than like your Manhattan crowd.
Yeah,
stuff.
and even in at the Garden, they're not afraid to boo, but Brooklyn was unreal. Like they had just loved it. And then our team rode really well and won that event. So that was great. They'll sell tickets for the next 15 years.
That's awesome. I'll have to get into that a little bit more now, especially with you being involved with it. We'll be New York Maverick fans here.
You better be.
When's Colorado going to have a team? Like,
well,
what the fuck,
I don't know. A friend of mine and a group of investors was trying to get a team bought, and they wanted to bring it to to Denver. They were going to have an event there. This is what they wanted to do, but they didn't get it bought. So
Okay.
we'll see. Maybe they can get another one bought in the future. But yeah, it's just been good on the team side of things to really bring in like a new kind of diverse crowd that may not understand bull riding, but they can get behind, the home team.
Mm-hmm.
And for us guys, that can't ride anymore, to still be involved is awesome, because I feel like it's our responsibility, as champions from the past to kind of pass on that torch and really use the lessons that we've learned to move the sport on and the guys to ride better than we do, right? Like that's what every parent wants their kid to be better than they are. And that's the way I feel about bull riders as well. Like I want them to be better and win more than I did, because I was able to help them along the way. But that's really kind of what this team deal is incorporated, with a bunch of us coaches coming back now, because we all used to compete against each other and we still want to beat each other just as bad now as we did then.
Right.
So it's fun in that aspect, and to hopefully, further the sport and create better bull riders. Like I want guys to be impossible to throw off. Like that's the mentality that it takes really to kind of see things outside the box, right? Like when you see, say
so you're building a true team dynamic, right? Like,
yeah. It's the whole deal. I mean, when you see, like thinking outside the box like that, when you see guys like, all right, your top end guys are riding like 40, 50%. That's great, but I don't want the goal to be riding 40 or 50%. The goal should be 100, right? Like there's not a bull out there that you can't ride if you're putting in the work and doing the job. Now, is the chances of that happening high? Absolutely not. Just like anything, operating at that level is very, very difficult. But I want, when guys start to have that mentality, right, when I think I can ride every one of them and I believe that that's what I'm going to do, then you start seeing riding percentages in the 60s, 70s, 80s versus, all right, I'm shooting for 50 and I'm hitting 30.
So how does that work? Is it a team? So is each bull rider scored on their ride like normal from the judges? And then at that point, is it a culmination of the... I'm sorry, just because I'm not super familiar.
No, it's fine. It's just like any other bull riding. So guys got to make the qualified ride. He gets a score, but it's 5-on-5 head to head. So like my team, I've got 5 guys in it. The other team's got 5 guys in it, and they alternate back and forth, and the highest cumulative score wins.
Wow.
So say my team has 390s and the other team has 385s for simple math, then we win.
Okay.
Or if we ride 3 and they only ride 2, we win by default, pretty easy there. And then
awesome. Each
night is its own event, basically. So if you win your game, like that's it for the night, and there's 5 games a night. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 10 teams, and so it's always, head to head. So there'll be an even number of teams.
How long has this been going on? Like
we're in our 4th year.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I can't believe I don't know more about this. Or
well, it takes time.
Right.
It does. Most people fans kind of struggle to get on board at first. Anytime there's a change, they're like, bull riding's individual sport. This is stupid, yada, yada.
Especially and then if they're from Western culture. Western culture, we don't like change at all.
No.
Yeah.
And then they seen an event and they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it another shot. And then before you know it, they're like, yeah, go team.
That's awesome.
So it's been fun to see.
As the team dynamic, do you guys get to have like organized practices together and like...
The blueprint is being written as we speak because it's never been done before. So as coaches and, and my general manager as well, we can do whatever we want. So like some teams kind of have most of their guys in one area and they can do practice.
Because you guys have like a draft system and the whole thing is what I was looking at, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah. We got our draft coming up here in like 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. But anyhow, so I customize it, right? Like and we can change it as it goes. So I'll have practices here and there and wherever the guys are kind of living, that's where I set up our practice situation, bucking bulls, working out with a trainer, all that stuff. And then I have guys coming to me as well, I've got an arena and bulls, I raise bulls. So there's no shortage of places to get bulls bucked.
Yeah.
But it's all unique with every team. We literally write the book as we go.
That's amazing. Because of injuries and the sport being injury prone, do you have starters and then like
Yeah.
second string guys? And
Yeah, we have like what's called our protected 7. So
Okay.
those are guys that, can't be like they're ours. We can trade them, drop them, all that stuff, but they're on our team as protected roster. And then we have what's called a reserve roster, which is another 5 guys. And like the name states, they're I'm not going to call them like they're still great riders, but
they might be rookies. Or
yeah,
something,
or they
right?
they're young and need like, some experience. And so those guys, we can kind of filter them in here and there when we need them, when we want some experience for them, that type of stuff.
What a great opportunity for those younger guys.
Oh, it's huge.
For mentorship, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They get to be in a spot where they're not all the pressure is on them, but they still get to mature and grow in their riding. And it's great. I mean, you'll see, we've seen guys, young guys, that's the biggest benefit I feel to the team aspect and having a coach and some structure is these young guys that's going to shorten their learning curve where, it used to take them 5 years. Now it takes them 2. And
Yeah.
we've seen that in the teams for sure. We got a young kid on my team, Hudson Bolton, who was already good when he got here, but I feel like in the last year he's grown so much that next year he's a legit contender for a world title.
I'm sure that you do. There's probably a playoff scenario and then a Super Bowl or championship ride or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So the win-loss record determines, your regular season champions. And then now with previously we only had 8 teams, so we couldn't do like a playoff situation. It was kind of just everybody started the finals, and then it was a progressive elimination as you went. You had to win to move on. Now there's a playoff system in place this year because we have 10 teams, and so it'll be a little different. But basically, yeah, it's clean slate at the finals. You make it through the system, and you get to the final day, and that's like our Super Bowl. It's a lot of bulls for those guys. That's one thing that's been a little bit difficult to navigate between the regular season, because when I say regular season, that's like what the traditional individual season has been, where you get your PBR World Champion, and then they go straight into that to the team season. It's a lot of stinking bulls, a bunch.
So it kind of rides right behind. So it probably starts. When is the championship for PBR, in December, or is it around the NFR?
So I think it starts next week.
Oh,
they
no
moved
shit.
it to May. Yeah, it used to always be in November.
It's been a while since with the podcast and
No,
being
I
a father and
totally
stuff, man.
understand.
There's so much I'd love to keep up on, but it's so hard to nowadays.
Yeah, so the finals used to be in.
I will be now though that you're in here.
Well,
so,
you better.
Yeah.
I should have
I'll have
brought you
to
a
come
hat.
to an event or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know. We can
We'll
come.
see each other again, man. I got a feeling here in the future we're going to be at a lot of events together.
Yeah,
coming up.
Yeah, I think so. But anyhow, yeah. So now there's just a regular season and a team season, and you get guys doing both of those things, and it's a lot of bulls, and it's hard to stay healthy.
That's so awesome too that it keeps you around the sport and doing stuff like that, and then raising bulls. What is that like, man? Like that's got to be crazy because you're trying to breed something that is a top performer, an athlete, basically, right?
Yeah,
There's probably a little bit of mad science that goes into some of that.
Well, it started just as a tax write-off. When I was riding bulls, I was like, I need to spend some money, and I like bulls, so here we go. I started breeding them.
So do you have a full riding facility and stuff at your place?
Yeah. Yeah, like the ranch there, I run all my cows on it, and then got the bulls there as well. And we have an arena for obviously training young bulls and bucking bulls for riders and everything like that.
That's incredible.
But yeah, you're right. It's just
so you're around it every day then, probably.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is
maybe not bucking them, but like around bulls every day.
every day.
Wow.
Yeah, like literally the last. I mean, since I was 7 years old, this has been life, and so. Yeah, I can't seem to get away from it. Not
That's
that
awesome, man.
not that I want to.
You must really love it.
I do, and there's been times, I thought, well, maybe, especially like when I was done riding and before I was coaching, and there's kind of it was a weird time in my life, anyways, mentally, when you take something away like that, that's been everything to you, your whole life, and then one day it's gone. So like, there's been times I thought I was going to step away from this, and I can't. Like,
yeah,
this is who I'm meant to be and where I'm meant to be, and you can't fight that stuff.
It's awesome, man. It bleeds through. One thing that we totally skipped over when we were talking about championships and Super Bowls and all that sort of stuff is 2009 for you. What did that feel like, man? Like
that's great.
It's freaking incredible. Like, Sarah, pull up something from 2009, like PBR World Championship, and it's an honor to have the world champ sitting here to enlighten us a little bit on it. And this was a little bit of a battle with JB.
Yeah.
Then, right?
Yeah,
you
was.
Guys were pretty much neck and neck for it.
Yeah, that year, honestly, one of the most special parts for me about winning that world title was the guys that I beat. It wasn't so much, the title itself, but it was knowing that I earned it. And that was beating JB and Guillermo Marchi, which are two of the best bull riders that's ever lived. And so it was just, this is the finals here. And even at the finals, so I won the world.
Look
JB.
at young Cody there with no goatee, man.
And
awesome.
It come down to the last day, and it worked. It was so cool because I won the world and second at the finals, and JB won the finals and was second in the world.
Can we watch some of the? See if there's any video.
Yeah, if you go to
I don't
YouTube,
know
there's
if it's
plenty.
Probably copyrighted, so I don't know how much we're going to be able to show on here. But yeah, let's watch a couple of these things. This is awesome, man.
But yeah, in 2009, it was just so cool because I had a legitimate shot to win the world the year before, and I didn't get it done, just through mistakes you make mentally as a...
everything has to go in this sport, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that I don't really believe in fate. I don't really believe in... I mean, I am God-fearing. I still question myself on what that is sometimes and stuff, and I don't think anybody doesn't, but there's a lot of things that have to go right.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
For sure.
Just down to, because drawing bulls is almost like a lottery system, right?
It's random.
It's gambling, man. It is gambling, a big part of it. But then also, when you do win that jackpot or the rankest bull or the bull that you want, you still got to go out and perform and cover it,
stay
right?
on. Yeah, and that it is. There's a lot of things that got to go right, and that's talking about the draw. There needs to be the most well-rounded guy is going to win, right? Because he can handle the wide variety of bulls versus somebody who can only handle one particular type of bull, which is something we see a lot these days where the guys can only ride them. A lot of times can only ride them if they spin into their hand, and that's a big flaw. You're not going to win a world title if you can't ride them both directions. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to who stays healthy. And that was a big challenge for me, actually, the year I won it, because I tore up my elbow. Early on, I was, here's a whole nother long story, but I'll cut it down. Going into 2009, I was riding good, winning the world, got the flu at one event, had a bad event, and it kind of snowballed the wrong direction. And I rode kind of crappy for a couple of weeks and lost that lead until I got it turned around. Well, once I got it turned around and took the lead back, I got wiped out, and I tore every ligament in my elbow on my riding arm. Oh, shit. And the doctor said, all right, that's done. You're done for the year. You got to go get this fixed, and your season's over. And I didn't feel like that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to still try and see what I could do. I felt like if I did things right, I could still ride and make it work. And so long story short, I ended up being able to continue the season and ride through that injury and ride through the pain, and had to get it fixed the day after I won the world. But riding through that, seeing how far I could push the limits of my own body was actually maybe the coolest thing of that year, aside from the world title and who I was competing against, but just knowing all right, here's what people said was my limit. Here's what I thought might be my limit, but how far past that could I go? And various times throughout my career riding bulls, that's been the biggest growth that I've had, is realizing that our limits, our self-perceived limits, are nowhere near what we can actually accomplish.
Oh, the mind is an incredible thing if you know how to apply it, right?
Yeah. And unfortunately, all of my experience has been applying it through pain. That's what my life has taught me is pain is a great teacher. Yeah. And there were times I handled it good and times I didn't, but there's all that growth through it. That's one of the coolest things for me.
It's got to be I know just the things that I've had to push through in life, whether it's even as simple as having a 2-star general sit across from me in the podcast, wondering the fuck does he want to talk to a roadie for? You know what I mean? Like this dumb guy. But yeah, just pushing through those little moments like that. And there's no comparison to riding with a torn elbow on the rankest bulls in the world. But the self-gratification that you get knowing like, hey, I went through it. I was scared to, or I pushed myself beyond what I could do physically. Yeah. I think it's huge. I've done that hunting, you know, a few times, or that's why I went on this archaeological experiment that we were talking about. Was I've never cut up anything with stone. Well, why not start with a bison?
Yeah. You know? Why not pick the biggest North American animal? I mean,
can start with a squirrel or a fucking raccoon or something. But yeah, no, it's wild, man. So I love those challenges, man. Like that's amazing. And I think the way that you were able to do it and all the guys being healthy too. Like you battling through your injury and then having the actual competition there, right? Because nobody wants to win a world title with a vacant championship.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like
you don't want to win because the other guy couldn't finish.
Right.
Yeah, and that you always want to win against the best, right? Like that's just what everybody strives for. That's why those world titles mean something.
Yeah, sure. That's incredible, man. It's an incredible journey to that. Post-world title, and if you don't want to talk about this, we don't have to, but I wanted to talk about the Tumor situation, how you kind of found it. And I mean, it's a crazy story listening to Dan through the gates, and shout out to Dan too. He's originally why we knew each other. And you'd been in the studio before, and it's amazing what he's done. And my hat goes off to Dan and CRWM and you as well. United Houndsmen of Colorado, which I want to dive into being a houndsman and getting into all that too, if time allows here. If not, we're going to have you back up here, but we'll definitely touch on it. It has just been an amazing organization. It's been an amazing year with just how the hunting communities come together and what we've been able to preserve so far. So yeah, I wanted to thank you personally for that, man, because it was a big deal to me being a backcountry bow hunter. I'm not a lion hunter, but that didn't fucking matter to me. You know, it's about much more than just lion hunting.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And we're going to dive into that here in a minute, but I think like sharing these stories where you've gone through something medically, like we had this kid, Casey Weston, former Marine, had a brain tumor, had GBM, and got it taken out, and has done some like alternative medicine things and like all that sort of stuff. And just hearing his experience and what he had to go through and what he learned, I think that there's so many people, there's probably not a whole lot of people that are going to climb on top of bulls at the PBR, but there's probably a good chance that people are going to show up with a tumor in their life. The chances are way greater, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a guarantee. You're not going to get through life unscathed.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm more than happy to tell a story.
Okay. Appreciate it.
It was kind of a weird, wild ride. So the short version of it, and then I'll explain how it all come to be, is in 2015, I ended up having some issues, and then 2 years later found out that I had a tumor in my neck, wrapped around my carotid artery. They call it a carotid body tumor. So it was choking down some blood flow to that side of my brain, and then it was pressing on some nerves that went to my eyes and my tongue. But to back up to the beginning, like 10 years earlier, probably 10 years earlier, I felt this thing in my neck, right? It was right where you take your pulse. I'd feel like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I thought it was a lymph node or something, like maybe I'm got a cold I don't know about. And it was just there, and same deal as bull rider. If it's not like absolutely killing you, don't go see anybody about it.
So this is 10 years prior to you figuring out.
Yeah. So this is like 2005 to 2007 time range. I don't remember exactly when I found it. I've just known it was there for a long time. But I didn't know it was a tumor. I just thought I had a lump in my neck. And so I went about, my whole life living like there's nothing wrong. And then January of 2015, I got like the worst migraine. I'm not a migraine guy. I've never had them. And all of a sudden I started getting like, what do they call it? It's called an aura, I think, where you see like rings of light when you when you get a migraine. So that happened to me when I was on the roof of my barn.
Do you see, when it's an aura, do you see them constantly, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a halo of light, and I had like 3 of them, like kind of almost like a target rings. Anyhow, it like debilitated me. Like I couldn't get off the roof. I was afraid if I moved, I would fall off. And so I just hung out there for like an hour and a half till this migraine went away. Like, man, that was strange. And about that time, that lump in my neck started feeling bigger, right? And I was like, I'm going to go get this checked out. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to get checked out. So they went and did a biopsy, and they said, well, you got a tumor. They didn't know. At that time, they couldn't see it pressing on nerves or being dangerous in any way. They're just like, is it benign? Is that the non-cancerous
I think
one?
so, yeah.
It's
benign.
It's non-cancerous, whatever that
So you
medical
might have
term
to
is.
fact check us on that one. Somebody will be blowing us up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they said it's not cancerous. If it's not bothering you, don't worry about it. So I'm like, that's all I needed to hear. I'm moving on with life.
Yeah.
Well, 2 months later, I was at an event and rode a bull. I was in Oklahoma and got back in the car to drive home, and I'd driven for an hour or so. And I was like, I don't feel right. Like, I can't tell you what's wrong, but I don't feel right. I got to get some coffee. A buddy of mine that was with me told him I got to pull over. So I pull over and I like open the door and fall out. Like I can't get my legs working. My balance is absolutely jacked.
Really?
My vision is going like as we speak, like getting more and more blurry, and I'm starting to slur my speech. To look at me, you'd think I was absolutely hammered drunk. And I'm like stumbling around the gas station, running into stuff. I get this coffee and I get back. I'm like, dude, you got to drive. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm not safe. So he drives home, and I get home and I slept for like a week straight. Like I'd wake up, I'd eat, I'd go to the bathroom, 30 minutes, back to bed. Wouldn't wake up for another 23 hours. And finally, after like 5 or 6 days, my wife's like, you have to go to the hospital. Like quit screwing around, you know? And I'm like, because in my mind, I'm just like, I'm going to just take it.
I'm just going to sleep it off.
Exactly.
I just need to rest.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm going to go.
Yeah, I got that same stupid mentality, bro. That's
like
crazy.
I'm going to take a nap, and when I wake up, everything's fine.
Yeah. But
And-
I think that's ingrained in you being a rodeo cowboy, right? It's just like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
you
I'm gonna
think,
deal with it.
yeah. And you think I'm going to just be tough. Nothing lasts forever, and this will be fine for too long. Anyways, I get to the hospital, and they're like, well, we think you had a stroke. And so they do all these tests for stroke, and they're like, well, no, it's not a stroke. We think it's concussion related. And obviously, as a bull rider, I've had plenty. And they do more tests, and like, well, so we don't think it's that either. We're not really sure. We're going to try to get you into these specialists. Going back to that healthcare system, it takes like almost 2 years to get in to see these specialists.
I know.
And
That's the other thing too. It's like,
Yeah.
a lot of times you're not even dealing with a doctor. You're dealing with like a physician assistant that's just reading off of a laptop. It's like, did you just Google what my problem is? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Sorry.
oh, you're fine.
Griping about the healthcare system again.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm waiting. And finally about the time, like right before my appointment to see that specialist. So that started 2015. We're into 2017 now. And this, for, I don't know, 6 months there, I felt, like I said, like hammered drunk all the time. Like
Really?
couldn't drive, couldn't ride
Without
a horse.
having a drop.
Not a drop. Like just like pass out drunk, but you're not, and you can't get rid of it.
So were you still riding bulls at this point?
No.
Okay.
Yes and no. So
Right.
I got to a point there where I was like, you know what? Because I couldn't see nothing. Like I couldn't even see the TV.
Shit.
Couldn't see past the end of the hood of my car. You know, I'm still, you know, so I did eye therapy. I did some speech therapy to be able to talk right again. Not that it was terrible, but it was noticeable. And so for 6 months there, you know, I felt awful, and I finally started to get control of the symptoms and be able to handle it a little bit better. And then I thought, well, I can ride bulls still. I don't need to see them. I just need to feel them. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to get on a few, and it was a terrible idea. Like even saying it now, I feel like the biggest idiot on the face of the earth.
Right.
This is like, you know, you can't
Just
see.
riding blindfolded,
Yeah.
basically. I mean,
You feel drunk, you can't see. Yeah, go ahead and get on a bull. That makes sense.
Right. It's something that a drunk guy would do.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. But to make it worse, I actually rode one of my practice bulls that way and like stayed on it, and the get off was absolute chaos. Like didn't know up from down. I mean, just a complete wreck. But I thought, okay, I can do this. So I entered Denver, and I drew really, really good bulls, like the best I'd ever drawn at Denver. and I got my
Which is hard to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, just there's always good bulls around, but these were like the best ever. I had a really good shot to win, and instead I just got my ass handed to me, and decided, okay, well, I realize now, like, I can't do this until I'm healthy. All right, so now fast forward to 2017, early 2017, and I've got this appointment, and like one day, I don't even remember what I was doing. Like I was out in the pasture checking cows or something, and I'm same as you. I believe in God. I try to live my life in a way that make Him proud, but I can't tell you that like I hear from God like audibly or even often. Like it's something that everybody's got their own personal experience with. But I'm telling you, as clear as day and as real as I'm sitting in front of you right now, I heard God say, the problem's not in your brain, it's in your neck. And so
Really?
I was like immediately on the phone, like calling the specialist, hey, when I get there, you got to test my neck. You got to test my neck. And they're like, I don't remember what they told me, but in my mind, I thought it was like cervical, right? Like in my neck, like spine neck. And they got there, or when I got there, she's like, all right, we're going to do the specific test to test from your neck down or from your head down. And so they give me this dye, give me some different scan, and they're like, this tumor is the problem. So that was like,
And it was still benign at that point?
yeah, it had
Really?
just grown. It had grown, but it still wasn't cancerous.
And it was just enough, like,
So it was wrapped around that artery,
right.
and apparently there's nerves that run through there that go to your eyes and your tongue. And
Yeah, because, like, I don't know if you've rolled jiu-jitsu at all, but, like,
I've gotten my ass kicked by my daughter a little
Yeah.
bit because she does it.
well, it's crazy because, like, I've had my 6-year-old, or when I had 6-year-olds, one of the gym that we were going to, shout out to Brazilian Top Team, one of the demonstrations that they showed was, like, they had the parents sit on the mat and the kid choke out the parent, basically, or at least start cutting off those carotid arteries. But it's crazy because that's kind of what, when you're really getting down to it, if you don't tap too early, if you're like pushing the limits, you kind of start seeing those halos. You start seeing like kind of everything you just explained. So it's just kind of cutting off that blood flow will fuck with you cognitively. And then it takes a few minutes, if you've ever been completely choked out, to like
Come
honestly
back.
kind of know where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
wild,
it's-
man.
it's
So you were going
crazy.
through that like pretty much constantly.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, but I got better at dealing with it and everything. And, life was better later on in that period than right at the beginning. Those first 6 months were hell. And I felt like I was losing touch on reality, right? Like in my mind, I'm still thinking, all right, when I go to bed tonight, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be okay. Maybe
That's
that's
crazy because that's very similar to like Casey West that we were just talking with that brain tumor. He was going to the VA and they were like giving him psych meds and like trying to get him to go to see psychologists.
Really?
It's like, no, there's something else that's wrong. Like he had to like be, and then
Yeah.
they found the lacrosse ball and growing in between his brain.
Golly.
Insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
so-
what's wild on that stuff. Like the doctor deal, you can go to 10 different doctors and get 10 different opinions on what's
know.
going on.
Yeah.
But anyhow, yeah. So that's kind of how all that worked out. And then that surgery was hell, the worst surgery of my life. I don't ever want to do it again. It was sucked, but
I bet.
they took it out. Yeah. So it was mainly
Man,
like
it's a pretty divine moment that you had though.
it was,
And
and
you were in the field, you said?
yeah, I was literally doing nothing, like not thinking about my neck or anything like relevant in my life. I was kind of zoned out, and it was like
Wow.
boom. And I wish that would happen more often when I need real answers.
Can I get a little bit personal here?
Yeah.
Because this is always curious to me. Because I've had some moments, but I don't think I've ever. I mean, I've heard my own voice like talk, but was it like somebody was talking to you, or
Not-
was it just like in your head, like in a dream type state, or
Not like audibly, like me and you were talking, but audible in my head, almost like when you hear.
like you had headphones in? Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. It was like plain as day, and I can't even tell you if it was like, maybe it was more of a thought, or like the thought was put there. But it for sure, I mean, as real as anything I've ever experienced in my life, it was like I don't have to question where this came from or if it's right. Like I knew it, and it was confirmed, within weeks.
Wow,
So
that's
pretty
amazing, man.
It's a special deal. I wish I had more of those experiences to share, because it's so cool. But that one was impactful for sure.
It's amazing. Like if you're really, and I wish I would have got into this younger in life, but like and I don't know, I'm curious with you too, like dealing with injuries or medical situations like that tumor, there's almost like a mind, and you being a pro bull rider, I think that kind of what you explained, like part of being tough is like kind of mind over matter type thing.
100%.
Like I've had moments where I've gone to a PT for something, and they're like, it's not getting any better. Or I've had some really good PTs that were just like, stop being such a pussy, basically, right? In a much nicer way.
Yeah, get tough.
Really stretch this thing, or really go beyond your limits of what you think is acceptable. But it's almost like, I swear to God, I've healed myself a couple times, my shoulder being one. Like I refused to get surgery on it. And it affected me so bad last year during archery season that I was like, okay, I'm going to stop rolling jiu-jitsu because I did it in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then, just working through it, and I'm almost back to like 100 now. Like I'm finally starting to be able to do push-ups and pull-ups again and stuff like that,
that's awesome.
Which has been like over a year. And I did what the doctors told me. Like they're like, oh, take 3 months off or 6 weeks or whatever it was, and only do the PT stuff. And it about drove me crazy. I was so miserable, and yeah, it was just it's not good. Like working out for me daily is good for my mental health more than anything.
Oh, for sure. Physically and mentally, working out every day is priceless.
Yeah. Have you ever had anything like that where they were like, you got to have surgery, and you kind of healed yourself or refused to get it?
Well, yeah, I've got. So right now I got torn labrums in both hips, torn meniscus in both knees. I've got shoulders that still need work, and I'm not saying they're healed, but I've, doing other things, I've learned how to deal with it without surgery. And after having my first shoulder surgery, I really never cared to get another one because it actually didn't help. I had different problems. I can't say it's worse, but they're different that affected me more. And so the other shoulder, like, I guess as an experiment, I was like, all right, I'm just going to get it as strong as I possibly can. And that's been way better than surgery, like hands down way better than surgery.
Have you looked into stem cells or peptides or anything? I know
I've had
very
stem
popular
cells
right now. Yeah?
I've had stem cells, holy crap, 9 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so my lower back, I've got degenerative bulge discs. And I got to a point, and this was when I was going through that tumor situation, where I couldn't hardly function. Like my wife had to put on my socks and my boots, and I couldn't bend over. It was just extreme pain all the time. And I went to the doctor, and they did an MRI.
2 years of that, man. That's crazy, right?
This is
dealing with those symptoms with the tumor.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, so that was like 2 years of dealing with that.
That's a long-ass time, man, to go through that.
Yeah. But then the back situation was going on during that.
Okay.
And so they told me you can either have it fused or you can be on opiates the rest of your life. And I was like, there's got to be a better option than that. Right. And so...
Give me the open brain surgery.
Yeah. And so I talked to some, looked into the stem cell deal and talked to some guys that I personally knew that had it done and had success. And so I went to actually there in Johnstown, the place that all the Denver Broncos were going to get theirs done. And did the stem cells in those discs, and crap, man, it was really life-changing.
Really?
Yeah, like at first I thought I made the worst mistake of my life because you think about, you've got a space that's way narrower than it should be, and then they pump it full of fluid. It was so awkward and like full feeling that it was almost worse.
Was it instant relief or?
No. It was way worse at first.
Oh, okay.
Way worse. I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, I just messed up my life. And then like after a week, it started to feel a little bit better. And then by 6 weeks, I was like, oh wow, I'm starting to feel pretty good. And like a couple months later, no question, it worked.
Man, that's amazing. We've heard so many stories, like time and time again, whether peptides or stem cells, because we've had so many high-level athletes sit in your seat. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was. And I can't say it healed me. Like I still have some issues, but from where I was to where I am now, it's 100%. I mean, it's so much better. The peptide deal is new, right? Like that's kind of just come about, and I don't have any experience with that, but I think there's some definite benefits to it,
Everybody I've talked to is, are performing at a high level, whether they're a world champ, bare knuckle boxer or a UFC guy. like I've gotten nothing but positive reviews on it, like firsthand experience
Yeah.
with guys that are performing at a very, very high level, right? Like,
And the UFC allows that?
actually, I don't know that the UFC allows it.
Okay, well, don't throw anybody under the bus.
Yeah, bare knuckles pretty loose
Gotcha.
with it. Yeah, I'm not sure. The UFC is very, very strict.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, there's some stuff, like if they don't get their supplements, like even cross-contaminated stuff, guys have gotten popped
No
for
kidding.
using like protein that they bought, but maybe that protein was made with some sort of substance they couldn't. So they like checked on the
gotcha.
bottle. It's not on there.
But it was made in
whatever
the same facility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it bleeds over, and
Dang,
and
that's
they get
crazy.
tested kind of crazy. Like they'll get tested on like fight day or the day of weigh-in. They'll wake them up at like 2:00 in the morning, and it's
No
they
kidding.
got to fight like the next day or something.
Man,
know?
that's
It's like,
kind of stupid.
yeah, it is kind of stupid. It's kind of a stupid. Well, what's stupid is they won't let them. I think peptides might be okay because it's. I think peptides are naturally in your body.
Yeah,
and
they
stem
are.
cells are as well. But I don't think stem cell therapy is allowed in the UFC.
No kidding.
Yeah. Which
That's
is crazy
nuts.
because you would think those guys are under contract. You want your athletes to be able to perform at the highest level and keep them as healthy as possible. That's your paycheck, right?
Yeah,
As a business.
And for the business, like the longer they're around, the better it is. Especially your
Absolutely.
top end guys. That's what I don't understand about some.
Yeah,
of
I
that
don't know.
stuff.
And I
Like,
could be incorrect on all of that, but
Yeah.
that's just kind of being a fan of it and looking at it from the outside and having guys in to talk about it. But yeah, there might be something different that's changed now.
Gotcha.
But
Well,
yeah, man.
Either way,
thanks for sharing, man, because it's huge. I'm considering it, you
Yeah.
know, for some stuff if it doesn't get 100%.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm totally open to them too.
Yeah.
Like not that I want to get hurt again, but I kind of want to get hurt again to try it out. You know.
Well, there's some awesome spots here in Denver. Let me know if that ever comes up because we'll collaborate on some stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I don't get wiped out near as often as I used to. Surprisingly, yeah.
You still get wiped out though.
Sometimes,
huh?
yeah.
Well,
I
I
still
guess
get run over. I thought I was going to
raising
die the other
rough
day.
stock and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like how tame do these bulls get? Like
Not. I
they're
mean,
not.
they
They're
get
bred
there.
to be fucking mean.
Yeah.
right?
Well, they're bred not to be mean, but to be athletic, and that's basically it. They're bred to be athletic.
What is their temper or like mindset?
They're typically all real wild. They're not. They do get mean. They are mean. Some of them, but they're not like bred to be like I want to kill everybody.
Right.
Sometimes they just get that way, but they're always wild. And if you give them an opportunity, they'll probably run you over. The caveat.
They like running people.
Yeah.
over, I'm sure. Yeah.
The caveat to that is later on, after they've experienced the road and they've just had a lot of miles on them, they start to realize, oh, like these guys feed me. Like I kind of like humans and I like getting scratched. And, I've got bulls that were meaner than crap when they were young. And now I can go out there and call them by name. They come up to the fence and let you scratch them and they'll still
Really?
buck. They'll still buck you off. But it's almost
But
just
for them, I've almost seen them where it's almost like they're performing too. Like they know when they're
Oh, they
running
love
into
it.
an arena or when they're at Madison Square Garden.
yeah.
Right? I'm curious, is there different energies in the bulls when you get into different cities or altitudes or anything like that? Is there any variables? Like
You
if
see
they
it.
know they're in Texas, are they like, let's fucking go or something? Or
I
is
don't
it
know
like-
about city wise, but yeah, like your higher end bulls, they'll be back there napping before the event, and then when it's time to, the music comes on, they get up. It gets time to, they start loading bulls, and they realize they're coming up next. They'll start to pace a little bit. I mean, they're just like people when they know their performance is coming up. They kind of start to get amped up towards it. But I tell you what does make a difference. They can feel your energy, like as a human getting on them. If you get in there, like.
So they can definitely feel the crowd then. I'm
Oh yeah. Like it's advice I always give to young guys, because there's a fear aspect of it. I don't care who you are; it's a scary deal. If they get in there timid and acting fearful, that bull will know it. They can feel it, and typically that bull will buffalo him. He jumps around in there and really acts up. But if you get in there confident and take control of the situation, a lot of times those bulls really kind of, not that they back down, but it's almost like a mutual respect. It's like, all right, here's two heavyweights about to fight, and they respect each other versus one trying to out buffalo the other.
Yeah.
And then weather changes when the barometric pressure drops. They act like idiots. every time. It seems like,
Really?
especially young bulls.
So like tornado situations.
Yeah,
or
like a
anything.
storm rolls in, and
That's just natural in animals, right? That's built or bred into them to get out of danger, right?
Yeah, and they just get amped up and act dumb, and they'll do stuff you never thought they would when the barometric pressure changes.
Wow. Yeah. Have you ever had to do a rodeo? Well, I mean, especially probably in your amateur career, I know some of the events that I've been at, like the time of year, it's always in the spring and fall, right? Like that's when we get the most like barometric pressure change and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Does that cause any issues?
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. Yeah,
Yeah.
you might have a really good bull that day just has a terrible trip because for whatever reason, with the weather. But especially like raising them and on the competition side of things with those young bulls, like it sucks when that happens because you can almost bet that your bulls aren't going to buck like they normally do.
Right. So when raising bulls, are you raising them like for the PBR? I mean, they're bucking bulls, or are they just for your own purpose? Or like, I'm sure there's a whole like business behind that, right?
Yeah, yeah, and the business can
especially if Dana White's owning his own bull and shit now, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and it can go so many different ways too. Like my specialty is basically in the breeding side of things. So I breed them very well. Like I've got a long lineage of proven genetics and like, documented this is how much these sires have made in their offspring, and cows same way. And so that's what I like is the breeding side of things. I'll breed them, get a handle on them calves, buck them a couple times and sell them. Inevitably, I always end up with some that weren't ready to sell then, so I hang on to them, and then, they get older, and I've got bigger bulls for riders to get on. But I sell them bulls as like weanlings or yearlings.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we just buck them with a remote-controlled box instead of a rider at that point.
Oh, really? How does it?
It's really simple. Like it's just a 10-pound box with a cinch, that you can pull up on them.
Uh-huh.
And you let them buck, and then you hit a button, and it falls off.
Really?
Yeah, so that's kind of how you train them to be ready for riders when they're big enough to have a man get on them.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so how are they keeping these bulls in shape? Are guys getting on them to keep those bulls in shape? Like the bulls that are in the PBR?
No, they are getting bucked, but mainly it's like running them, jogging them up and down an alley, letting them dig. They love to dig, and if you put a big pile of sand out there, they'll dig and dig and dig and dig. Till they get to China. Yeah. So they kind of naturally exercise themselves, but honestly, being on the road actually helps a lot too. You think about like in a trailer, they're not buckled in
like
a seat.
standing on one of those
those vibrating boards
or whatever or something.
Yeah, so they're always moving and adjusting, and you get one the right nutrition and a fair amount of exercise, and they will harden up like a rock.
Wow,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, man, what an amazing career. We are burning through time. I want to diverge a little bit and kind of see what some of the correlations are and what got you into being a houndsman, because this is another extreme thing to take on with animals, and then also hunting lions. Like I've been fortunate enough to be on a couple lion hunts with dogs, and not personally doing the hunt, but just tagging along and trying to keep up with the dogs. And it takes a real athlete to do that, man. Like that is no easy feat. But I guess, is there any correlations to bull riding and being a houndsman? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, that's the two that I've been on are probably two of the most thrilling things that I've done in the backcountry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done quite a bit between elk hunts and mule deer, and been around moose and predators in different situations. But like that, it's a very cool thing, man. Like to the point where if I had the time, I would consider running some hounds or being a houndsman, even though I don't hunt cats. Like that part of it to me is more intriguing than honestly the cat hunt.
Yeah. You're right though. There is a correlation, and I don't really understand how, but as a bull rider, the part that drew me to that was the unknown, right? Like you're going to do something hard, but you don't know how it's going to go. And when I've always been a hunter. I got into running lions when I was still riding bulls, and I think I told this story on Dan's podcast. But it was
go and listen to Through the Gates too with you. That was a great episode. I think it's Sarah. Look up Through the Gates podcast on YouTube. I think it was episode 15 or something. We'll look it up and so you can go and listen to it. Sorry.
Yeah, but anyhow, so I got into the hounds when I was still riding, and kind of hunted with buddies that had dogs through that time. And then when I couldn't ride bulls anymore, I was like, I mean, I mentioned it briefly before, I was in a weird spot mentally. Like, not only was I going through the tumor deal, but even after that was over, like I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. You know, I had some other symptoms going on from concussions that, you know, with hormones and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough. It was like,
oh man, that's got to be the toughest. I mean, that's the toughest transition for anybody that leaves something. I still struggle with it with the career that I had built and leaving that when my daughter was born. That was 14 years ago. There's still parts of me that it's like, fuck, I could be out with Metallica right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's something about like that buzz, but then guys do it in the military, right? Because it's been their life since they were a young man. And then all of a sudden it's just over.
Gone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through that when bull riding was over, and I'd never had my own dogs for lions at that point because I didn't want them, since I was on the road so much, I didn't want them sitting at home and not getting used. So I decided to get some dogs. And the first time I went out, like every other time I'd been out, I'd been with buddies and they owned the dogs and there was a group of us around, but I went out by myself with my dogs. And I realized like this feels like something I lost when I lost bull riding. Like just the challenge of, okay, we're going to go do something hard. I don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know if I'm going to be successful, but I'm going to go do my very damn best to accomplish the task. It was like a light came on, like, oh my gosh, like I can really pursue this like I did riding bulls and go do something that's very difficult, very time consuming that not everybody can do and be successul. And I don't know, just like riding bulls, I don't know if you can ever be perfect. I don't know if you can ever be perfect as a dog trainer or a hunter or anything like that. So really that transition from riding bulls into catching lions and running dogs, whether it's lions or bobcats or whatever you're after, was just very, very natural for me because it was from doing one thing that's very hard into doing another thing that can be very hard. And so it gave me kind of new life, really. I mean, that's the way I felt about it because I felt like life had been kind of taken away or a big part of it.
It's incredible, man. Just being around dogs, like I'm partial to dogs. I'm partial to certain breeds and always have been because I grew up with healers, you know.
Yeah.
And like,
is that your favorite?
They're my favorite, man.
Yeah.
They are. They're a pain in the ass and they're fucking great and they're loyal and like, you know, the healer that we have now doesn't run cows or do any of that shit.
Gotcha.
But she came off of a ranch that I had to beg the lady that sold her to me because she came from working parents. And she's like, no, I've seen these dogs go to...
Yeah, you want them to go to
a
working home.
Well, listen, I grew up with them and grew up with them running livestock and stuff. Like, I know my way around it. But she's the best thing ever. But they got to have a purpose, right? Like, they got to have... So my buddy that runs Complete Canine has helped out a little bit, but just training her in some, like, search. Right?
Oh, no
Which
kidding.
is kind of similar to, like, tracking and stuff like that. But it's like cueing her onto a toy and just... like having some sort of purpose, right? And we go out and work on it, and I have fun doing it, man. It's so much fun to like put her on, let my kids go take off, and then put her on the tracks, you know, or something like that. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's like that unconditional love. When I come home from a trip, my kids are excited to see me, but they're not doing backflips and pissing all over the carpet, right? Like, I thought you were dead type of love, you know, because you have the communication that you have with them is only when you're around them, right? Like, and there's something to that. So, like, when you leave for a long, extended period of time, are your hounds like that when you come back? Or are they?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're amped up, and you know, just like
are we gonna go run some cats? Like, yeah.
Or even like I'm always with them too. Like when I'm home and I go out, like I said, I got the ranch and we got cattle, so I go out and check fences, check cows, water. I'll collar up all them dogs and we go out on the 4-wheeler, and so they're with me every day.
Really?
Yeah, and so when they don't have that, you know, when I do come back, they're like, they don't care whether we're hunting or checking cows or whatever. They're just happy to go live life.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that because it's, you know, that purpose, like you said, like they need a purpose and people need a purpose too. Like that's why you find passionate people doing things that they really enjoy doing and they're very successful, is because that's their purpose.
Absolutely.
But them dogs have them the same way. But anyhow, yeah, through all that, through the transition from bull riding to hounds, and then now, we've been involved. Now I'm involved in different hound organizations and trying to, just like doing on the bull riding side of things, like make things better for the future.
Absolutely.
And with the other stuff we faced in Colorado last year, that escalated my involvement quite a bit there. But it's good. It's busy. For sure it's busy. But
well, it was nearly for people that are ignorant to it. I shouldn't say that, but people that weren't paying attention that might be listening to this. And if you listen to this podcast on a regular basis, we beat the shit out of this last year for a certain reason. We're going to do it again this year because it's come back up. I mean, cat hunting was nearly taken away from anybody that lived in the state of Colorado last year.
Mm-hmm.
And divine intervention or faith or whatever you want to call it, voters decided to vote against it being banned completely. But the whole other side of that I don't think a lot of people understand is there's people out there that are in the ag community or use agriculture as a business, and this might be a supplemental business to them, whether they're being an outfitter or leasing their land to other lion hunters. And then you have the whole outfitters side of it, people that own dogs and are making some sort of living off of going out and running cats.
Mm-hmm.
And just the whole houndsman side of everything was also an integral part in what was, going to be taken away. I mean, there was so much livelihood there that I think people are just kind of ignorant to it if you're not doing it firsthand.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people don't care till it affects them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And some of this stuff can kind of slide in and make changes, and people think, oh, it doesn't affect me, gets passed into law. And then later down the road, they're like, holy crap, this actually really affects me. Now I don't have the tools to either make a living or to protect my livestock or even deal with, dangerous situations involving animals. So,
mm-hmm.
I was glad we beat it for sure. And they're not done, unfortunately. Like,
yeah, it's right back at the doorstep. Right
now. And I don't know if it's necessarily targeted at, just lion hunters and cat hunters. Like, there seems to be a big disconnect, and it's like anything hunting or agriculture is in the crosshairs now. And it's
wild, man.
It's like, yeah. I don't know how we got to that point, especially in Colorado, when we're a huge agriculture state, and
mm-hmm.
now it's like there's just this big battle going on between extremists and the people that have taken care of this land forever.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got here, but we got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, and I think it's those extreme sides of both. Is just the very like fringes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's all these people in the middle that are influenced, and I don't know, man. It's so messed up. It's so growing up here in Colorado and growing up in an ag family that thrived on that and has also thrived on the growth of the state, because
mm-hmm.
they all went from ranching to excavation, right? So there's many homes that are built here and roads and subdivisions.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff, right? Like, it's just has sustained my family, and they don't knock it. But to watch the change and the I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for here. The killing of culture and tradition,
that's a good way to put
right? Like, that's where I start to have a big disconnect. And like, I did move away at 18 or 19 and chasing my career, and I wanted to travel all over the world. I was a black sheep. Like, I have family members that have never seen the ocean, and they don't care to. I mean, they're that Western of a lifestyle, Rocky Mountain, why would I ever leave Colorado? Well, now they're considering it, right? Mm-hmm. Because of politics and stuff like that. And it's just a messed up situation. But I left is actually the catalyst for this podcast, even though it's turned into something completely different. But I left at 18. This was the worst place in the world. I was never going to make it here. So I moved to Hermosa Beach, California, and lived there in Redondo in that South Bay area for the better part of probably 20 years. And then when I started having kids, it was like, well, wait a minute. I want them to grow up in the same dirt that I did. I want them to have the same experiences. I want my son to know how to hunt, like those sort of things, right? That that all kind of came full circle. And after seeing the world 7 or 8 times and being on every major continent and all these crazy cities and amazing experiences that I even had rurally in some of these other countries, this was the best spot in the world, full circle, right? So coming back here, and I grew up without a dad and not a lot of money. And so like hunting, fishing, growing up here in the mountains, like we weren't skateboarding. We were trying to skateboard in the Safeway parking lot until the cops showed up, right? Like we were trying to do the cool kid stuff, but like fishing just became second nature, like shooting my bow and being out small game hunting on my own, you know, at 10, 11 years old and doing it right, you know, walking out of your house with a gun and walking through town, and it was like accepted.
Yeah,
right?
It's not a big deal.
So to come full circle 20 years later, we go back and I'm like, I'm going to take my son fly fishing down at the Dreamstream where we used to go all the time. And the first time I'd been back, and he was little. So we went at like before first light down there. We're going to have a morning fishing trip. I think it was during the week. We could barely get into the parking lot because I didn't realize there was guys in there fishing all night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then we get there and it doesn't even look like the same river. When I was a kid, like all the spots that I remember, the banks were so depleted that you might as well not have banks or holes just from people crawling in and out. Then we finally hike up to the spot, and we're passing headlamp after headlamp going in that are already on the river still fishing.
Gotcha.
Which is insane. We get up there and there's 2 guys fist fighting over a hole that we were going to try to fish.
Oh, man.
And I was just like, I didn't even tie a fly on. I just turned around and left. And I was like so disgusted and this one must have been about 2015 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and then just, you know, trying to immerse my family in the outdoors, and it wasn't left like I was taught to leave it, like pulling into a campsite and just seeing a fire pit full of trash, right?
Yeah.
Or like just
nobody leaves it better
like
than
that.
they found it.
Or like toilet paper mark. You can see everywhere where somebody shit for the last 3 days that they spent in a campsite because they didn't know how to do it. And I don't think all of that is done on purpose or distasteful. I think unless you've grown up and had that sort of like stewardship or mentorship and taught the right way to do it, if you grew up in the inner city and there was trash cans everywhere, well, what do you do with your trash when you go to the backcountry, right? Or if you don't realize that trash blows away and blows into the river, like, you know, it's kind of full circle. So I think my idea was to kind of help educate people in that.
Gotcha.
But now we've grown into more of like a personal one-on-one type thing. You can only, I'm talking about it right now.
Well,
right? So
and this is still tied to that though, that it's like, you know, the cultural deal where, you know, this is our culture. This is what matters to us. And we want to teach people that are just just experiencing that or just getting into it, like how to take care of, you know, the state, how to take care of the land, the wildlife, all this stuff versus the extremists pushing false narratives on them and teaching them the wrong way. And one of those things being, you know, wildlife management, like what we battled for last year. And that, like you're talking trash, like leave it nicer than you found it.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just educating ourselves to be better people. Right. And having some responsibility, which I feel like is slowly going away.
Oh,
you know, like,
I would argue quickly.
Oh, quickly, especially with like social media and stuff. You look at the amount of disrespect that happens when you're not face to face with somebody, and it goes up probably 10,000%.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine, right? Like, so like, I think it's much more than just wildlife policy. I think that there's so many different things involved where people are just kind of complacent and they get these ideas in their head and then they're force fed it all the time, because you can get anything you want at any time that you want just by looking at a phone or by the touch of a button. And that also goes for information. So if you're looking to start a fight with somebody and you need ammunition, you can surely find it. Or you want a diagnosis on what's going on with you medically, you can probably find it. Or you can find somebody that's that's living on the fringes of that and doing alternative medicine, or like you can literally find anything you want these days.
Yeah, it's great and it's confusing at the same time.
Yeah.
But and that's something we think we have problems when we're talking about that. Like, it's too confusing to have this much information. And it's wild when you look at just like other places. Like, I just got back from Africa.
Yes.
And seeing how those, in those communal areas where everybody lives, like, you know what their life consists of? Their cattle, which is their bank account, and their corn, which is their food for the entire year. They try to keep both alive. Like, that's what their entire existence is. Life's pretty simple.
Very simple.
When you break it down to the nuts and bolts. And not that they don't have problems, but everybody's very happy too. Like, they're happy to live life and have their cattle and have their corn. And it makes us seem pretty stinking spoiled over here with all the
100%. It's all perspective.
Yeah.
And I think being boots on the ground and experiencing something that's hard, or experiencing what you think is hard might not be hard to somebody else, but actually physically being there and seeing it makes you appreciate it for what it is, right? So like, I think that's our biggest disconnect is you're fed a narrative of what you're supposed to think. Then you automatically think that, and then there's just more fuel for the fire. And I think that's kind of like, I feel like that's the disconnect, because the hunting community is so small. When you look at the mass population, it's like, what, 2% or something of the population that actually hunts. And then you narrow that down to houndsmen and lion hunters. That's a very, very small percentage. And I feel like the people with the boots on the ground experience should be the only people that have a say in it, whether it's biologists or houndsmen. And like, maybe this is something I thought of the other night, and this is so crazy, but I was just thinking about wildlife policy and how we got here, and with the lion thing and all that sort of stuff. And I was trying to think of a way that the public would feel better about having a voice over biology or Colorado Parks and Wildlife or hunters or whatever. But it's almost like, and it's already in place, but like a board that had everybody involved, biologists, houndsmen, anti-hunters, but at least just take it out of the voters' hands. Like, people that can't decide what they want to order at freaking Starbucks, clogging up the drive-through, shouldn't be voting on whether mountain lions should be hunted or not, or managed or not managed, or what you get to do with your dogs.
Yeah.
Whether it's putting a collar on them or not, right? Like, they have no stakes in the game. They've probably never even seen a mountain lion in the wild. Like, I grew up hunting, fishing, still to this day, like 20, 30 years of experience. Yeah. 2 weeks at a time here or there. But you'd be hard pressed. And I put myself in situations where I'm cow calling, like going up game trails and stuff like that. I've probably seen I can't count them on one hand, the amount of lions that I've seen. And the ones that I have seen have been like a split second. Like, all I know is that it may or may not have been a lion, but it had whatever it was. Tail. It had a very long tail. So I'm assuming it's a mountain lion. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough one, like, to navigate that. I would generally agree with you, but then I look at the flip side of that of like, well, they're a public resource, so I think the public should have some say in it. But I think the actual management of how, like, there's enough room in the wildlife populations for everybody to have their piece of the pie. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
I would worry though, without that it could turn into other things like, all right, if you're not working in politics, you don't get to vote or something like that, like.
Yeah, no, it's a messy thing. It's a really bad idea. Like, don't listen. Obviously, do not listen to me.
No. Like, it's not a bad idea. It's just, there's so much more to those things than I think we realize. Like, even the voting thing, like, should we hunt this or should we not hunt this? There's so much more to that than people that are generally would vote even know, right?
Yeah, they're just thinking like, oh, cat hunting's good or bad, right? Like, or cats need to be managed or not. But there's so much more that goes into play with that, like your livelihood, houndsman's livelihood, how CPW actually manages those cats and has some actual data to feed biologists, right?
Yeah, the effects on other populations of animals and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
That's what, I don't know, maybe we're getting off. I don't know if I'm getting us off subject or not, but
no, you're good. I just want to give this caveat real quick before we dive into this. Do not listen to me on any wildlife policy. Go listen to Dan Gates, CRWM, United Houndsmen of Colorado. There's a national organization too, right? That you're
National Houndsman Alliance is getting going as well.
Because these are people actually, I'm speaking off the cuff a little bit and from real life experience, but like listen to the experts in this field, whether it's Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, United Houndsmen, like people that are actually dealing with it. So to take it back to the boots on the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
People.
And
I would consider you one of those. So
well, I appreciate that. And there's opportunity for the public to get involved in all those things.
Yes.
Come to the CRWM events, come to the CPW meetings, the commission meetings. You can even have one-on-ones with the commissioners. And UHC, the United Houndsmen of Colorado, we always welcome people to come to our events, call, ask questions. We've got our Houndsman days in Leadville, June 13th, 14th, and 15th that anybody's welcome to come to.
Awesome.
People can get involved and get educated for sure and learn. And every time I guarantee you're going to learn like, oh wow, this isn't quite what I thought it was. This is really awesome.
I learned so much. The one benefit that I will say about 127 being on the ballot this last year, and then also when it was a prop, is when I really started diving into it. My education on mountain lions is tenfold compared to what it used to be, just to where they're at, population wise, and having Dan in here and having some wildlife biologists and like all the people that sat across from me and the countless hours of knowledge that I got to ask them questions, man. Like I know so much more about mountain lions in 2025 than I ever did in 2023.
Yeah.
And it was all because of 2024 and the deep dive.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're probably like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I didn't know how much I didn't know.
Yeah, that it was the one benefit. But sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you. But
oh no,
that's awesome that it's open to the public. In so many different ways.
Yeah, and
they're nice people, man.
Great people,
easy people to get along with.
That's what you've heard the saying. It's hard to hate up close.
Yes,
like that's what I encourage. People that want to hate us or hunters or ranchers or whatever, pick whatever group it is, go spend some time with that group and you're going to realize, oh my gosh, like they're people just like me, like they're good people. Mm-hmm. I may not agree with everything they do, but we don't always need to have like enemies that we're setting up firing guns at each other.
Like I'm going to say that, right?
It is. That's how things get accomplished.
And I think it's how things get accomplished. It's how creativeness happens. It's like, we don't want a bunch of cookie cutter people. That would be pretty freaking boring, man.
Yeah. But anyhow, I was probably gonna sidetrack us off even worse. like we're all governed willfully, and at what point does the other side say, "I'm tired of being pushed around"? Like, people that don't have any stake in my life want to tell me what I can and can't do. I don't know when
that's the worst part about it.
When it's like you people follow laws willfully. Like, at what point is it like, you know what, we're starting our own thing here? Like, we're done with the tyranny by majority voting situation.
Right.
But that's a whole nother subject.
The shit out of me too. But
and I'm not even talking like war. I'm just saying like, we don't want to fight, but I'm done following your rules.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where like some of my family members are at, honestly, man. Like, just because they've grown up here and we go 12 generations deep right here.
Yeah.
That they've seen it change so much, and it's like a lot of those policies are dictating a way of life for them or something that's been with them their whole lives. And that's disheartening.
Yeah, absolutely.
But back to being a houndsman, and like, shout out to Robbie Kroger and Blood Origins for putting together Lionheart. That was
awesome.
He portrayed houndsmen really well. And then the couple films that you guys made as well, with some of the biologists, the one up in Kalispell and the whole Western Coast, right? They're doing a big mountain lion study up there or something that you guys were kind of tracking.
Yeah, they were doing a hazing study, which they actually, got peer reviewed and published. And now, because of that study, California was trying to get some hazing involved there to control some of their lion populations, which unfortunately didn't pass their legislature.
That's unfortunate.
Surprisingly, the majority voted for it, but because of their rules, it wasn't like a super majority. So it didn't pass. But
So crazy.
regardless,
Yeah.
We went up there and talked to that guy that did that study, and it's really kind of groundbreaking stuff where if you love lions, whether you love to hunt them or you love to save them, it's a beneficial thing, right? Like it's basically preventing conflict before it starts, which has never really been done. Like people try proactive measures, which work for a short period of time with all carnivores, whether it's bears, lions, or wolves, but eventually they will get over your deterrence. This one is more of a longer lasting effect, but regardless,
And what was the effects in the exact? So
they collared 2 groups of lions, a control and a study, and the control group, obviously they did nothing with. They let them live their lives. The study group, they hazed them with dogs, and then they would go back weekly.
So not hunting them, but just maybe to the treeing process.
Yeah, they would tree them.
Chase.
Yeah, tree and free.
Okay.
So they'd be treed. They'd the people would be loud, boisterous, like make it a situation where the lions really understood that like there were people there. And then they'd free them, and then they'd go back in. And once a week, they would like talk and play a radio and walk into these collared lions and record how close they could get before the lion moved and how far they ran before they stopped. And what they showed is after every approach, those lions started fleeing faster and running further. And in the control group, or in the study group, they had 2 lions out of 40, I think, that created problems in that time frame and had to be removed, like depredations or whatever. All the rest of them stayed clear of people. And these were lions that were like living in state parks and urban areas, kind of, edges of urban areas that were very heavily populated.
Yeah.
In the control group, they had to remove a whole lot of those for depredations. And they also went in on the control group and did the same thing, walking into them and see how close they could get. And what they found on the control group is the more times they walked into them without being hazed, the more habituated they got. Like it would get to the point where they would nearly walk right up on a lion that refused to move.
Wow.
But in the study group where they'd done the hazing, they'd been hazed one time. And then every time after that they were approached, the response got better and better.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty clear.
It's crazy that we got to do a study on that. I mean, it's almost like kind of
like
common sense, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at Estes Park or where elk aren't hunted, like here, for example.
Yeah, they're in town.
And they're on the golf course while you're trying to they're in the way of you, trying to golf. And there's a 300 class bull.
Yeah.
But they can't be hunted here. So they're habituated to people. They're used to living with people. And I swear that they honestly know that it's a safe haven for them. Like that big bull that shows up here every year shows up around August 27th, 28th, give or take a day.
Season.
Yeah. Right before opening day of archery, they got it down.
Yeah, and you can't blame them, but
No,
there is, things we can do to help keep them wild.
Absolutely.
And that
it's so cool. I'm not knocking it. I love the fact that they're around here. It's awesome to be recording a podcast and have a bull walk down Main Street bugling,
Yeah. It is. It's way cool, and it's just that line, right? Like what's acceptable and what's not, and when they get habituated, that line starts to blur.
I think one thing I want to bring up too is how many times do you guys tree lions or put chase on lions where there's no hunting purpose involved, or where a cat is not killed?
So where a cat is not killed, often, the majority of the time.
Really?
So I can't say that's for everybody, but typically, I'm a dog guy. I like the dog work and that aspect of it. The whole hunt, that's one thing a lot of people don't understand about hunting with dogs versus traditional boot hunting, whether it's with a bow or a rifle, is, and I challenge everybody to really consider this, is the moment that you pull the trigger or have the opportunity to pull the trigger, that's checkmate, right? Like that was the hunt. Everything that led up to that was the hunt. It wasn't the actual, boom, it's dead. Now we're hunting.
100%. Yeah.
And those look differently when you're a boot hunter versus a houndsman. So when you're going out and you see a group of elk and you put a stalk on them and you think there might be one in that group that you want, and then you get there and you see them and you think, oh, there's nothing there I want. So you let them continue on their way and you go find something else. Same thing happens in the hound hunting. And that's why I can't speak for everybody, but me specifically, if I'm going to pull the trigger, it's going to be a very specific old animal. And it's not anything to do with the trophy or anything. It's just I enjoy the dog work enough to let those lions go and continue to do what they're doing. And if there's an opportunity and the right animal presents itself, whether that's a big bull, a big deer, or a big mountain lion, then yeah, I'll pull the trigger. But I enjoy the hunt, everything up to the hunt. Because once I pull the trigger, the hunt's over.
Right.
If I haven't pulled the trigger, I can keep hunting, and that is what matters to me. And the food matters to me. Doing my part to manage populations matters to me. But my most joy comes out of that hunt, everything that leads up to that point. Because at that point, when you decide to pull the trigger, it's checkmate. You've won.
Mm-hmm.
You've got within range of that bull, or you've treed this lion that had every opportunity to escape in his own backyard, and he didn't that day, which happens a lot too.
Right. Man, they're so crazy. Like, what's some of the wildest stuff? They're so agile. Like, just having Colorado Parks and Wildlife in, and you probably have more experience than some of these game wardens, I would imagine, with lions,
sure.
right? Because you're dealing with them on a more regular basis. But like, just knowing some of the stats and knowing what a house cat can do, and a lion's agility is unbelievable, and how quiet and how stealth they can be. But I think like they can jump 17 feet or something from just this crouched position, like not even a run.
Mm-hmm.
They run, I think, like 63 miles an hour or something, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Full clip. Like,
they're fast.
They're amazing animals.
Yeah, they are. They're, in my mind, they are like the perfect killing machine. And I don't say that like against them. Like, I think it's awesome. And they're the coolest animal in Colorado. But yeah, they can do things that dogs can't. They can do things that no other animals can do, whether it be moving through the rocks or the trees, or, even they'll swim rivers in the middle of winter. Like, we've seen their tracks go down to a river, they swim it and get out on the ice on the other side, shake off and keep going. Like,
really?
I don't see deer and elk doing that in the winter.
Yeah.
Not to say they won't, but I just don't see it. Yeah, they're amazing animals. And to your point, like, I like seeing them I like them out there. I like being able to challenge myself and the dogs to catch them, and we don't catch them every time. And I'll catch 30 to 40 a winter and might take one or two. Mm-hmm. And so whether that's always let the females go or letting the young males grow up and contribute, what they're going to contribute.
That's another thing too that I just want to bring up real quick is like the regulations are probably more stringent on mountain lions than any other species that's big game in the state.
Yeah, they're the most closely monitored.
Yeah.
For sure.
With quotas and the check-in process and like the additional education that has to come with your license and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you take a special course before you can even get a license. And then there's quotas and,
and then you have to check it in with a game warden. They have to take a tooth or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
they take a tooth for aging, mm-hmm. and that's one of the metrics that they use, to monitor populations is what age of lions are coming in.
So the biologists are actually gaining data off the lions being hunted or the pursuit. How often have they come to you in your pursuit with like a survey or something and asked how many females you've seen, how many males? Like, so are they relying on Houndsman for data on a lot of stuff?
Yeah, and actually Houndsmen and hunters in general for CPW, they are supplying so much information that they use in their management strategies and the health of the population. Like, every hunter is almost like a little part of an employee 100%. Of CPW.
That's why I encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're a hunter, take the time to do those surveys. And be honest in them, man. Like, I know how important it is now. I never knew before. I was like, why the heck are they calling me?
Yeah, it's just a pain in the butt. Why do we got to do this?
Right? But no matter what I'm doing now, after understanding it and talking to some biologists and being heavily involved with some of these policies and stuff like that, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm recording a podcast, I'll call them back or whatever, but I always take the call.
Yeah.
Especially when I see CPW on there. I'm like, I'm going to take it.
Take a little ownership of what you're doing and help provide, help make it better. But yeah, all that stuff, they don't ask us how many we, caught and didn't harvest or how many females versus males we saw directly. And that's something that UHC is actually trying to get, not changed, but improved to where we're actually providing them with more information, that whether it's at check-in or with a post-draft, post-draft here, I'm thinking bull riding still, post-season survey to get a little bit more information. Wyoming actually does do that. They ask, how many females, how many tracks did you see, but not pursue, all these different questions. And they get a little bit, maybe, I can't say it's a better, but a little bit different picture of their population and how many are actually being treated and not harvested.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Cody. I think it's bled through in your passion. I appreciate everything that you did advocating this last year on it and everything that you're doing currently with that too. So you always have a seat or a platform here to advocate on any of that or educate us on it.
I appreciate it.
Maybe I'll get up and run a cat with you if I got to get in a little bit better shape first. Man, the last one I went on about killed me, man. Like,
they can be brutal. Yeah. I mean, it could be, I always tell everybody, you never know. It could be 500 yards or I've gone 16 miles on my own feet and never even caught up to them. So
really?
Yeah. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Like, you might just get the ass kicking of your life. You just got to
be ready, right?
And you better be ready for it. Yeah.
A lot like riding bulls. Well, we're going to wrap this up, man. We've been at it a little more than 2 hours. I want to be respectful of your time because I know you got some stuff coming up here shortly. But, man, thank you so much. We'll have to have you back. You're welcome anytime. I'm sure you'll be back with Dan and all that sort of stuff that he's got going on. And, yeah, let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you guys out. And United Houndsmen of Colorado. What's the national?
It's National Houndsman Alliance, I believe, and
okay.
I apologize. I'm part of the creation of it, but I can't remember what that last word is.
Do we need to look it up here real quick?
You probably won't find it on there. We just got everything registered as a 501c3, and
awesome.
Like we're literally in the beginning stages of putting it all together. So
okay, and then are you the president of United Houndsmen of Colorado?
Vice president.
Vice president. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and shout out to your family, man. They were an integral part. Your daughter is freaking amazing. The film that Sean put together with her and CRWM, man, was her interview, man. Like, what amazing kids you're raising.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll let you come babysit them sometime. It might change your mind.
Don't worry, I'll bring one along that's probably just as spicy, man. So yeah, they would have a good time together, I'm sure.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and you know, again, shout out to you for helping us with everything we've dealt with for the last year. And you know, these conversations are always fun, and so anytime.
Yeah, man, it was great getting to have you in here. Honored to have you, and really sitting down and getting to know you today. If you would like to help support any of these organizations, you can open the show notes right now wherever you're listening or watching. There'll be direct links to any of that. Is there anything else you want to shout out? Instagram follow, Instagram handles for Mavericks, you? Yeah.
I mean, we might as well do that. United Houndsmen of Colorado is on Instagram. So is the New York Mavericks. And so be sure to get into the PBR teams and follow the Mavericks. And come check out some of the UHC events. We got, our Houndsman Days coming up, and we'll have a banquet at the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs later this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so that'll be a lot of fun. So everybody keep up on that, and we'll see you somewhere.
Okay. Excellent.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that ridiculous.
Leprechaun.
Yeah, that's...
somebody did that too, didn't they?
No, all these... Our social media gal makes all this stuff and tags me in them.
Nice. That's awesome. Must have been a St. Patty's Day deal.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Yeah, we'll have links to all this stuff in the show notes here. So what's the biggest thing, real quick, that if people want to get involved with United Houndsmen of Colorado or some of these other organizations, what's the biggest thing that you guys need support with, and or how do they get involved if they don't have the means to help support the cause?
Yeah, I think the biggest way to get involved is just make a phone call, buy a membership. If you can do more than that, financially, it's always useful to help put on these events. Nothing happens for free, so that's always great. But honestly, like, just being involved and spreading the word about what we do and who we are, it goes so far. That's the biggest thing. A big community is what we're after. A big educated community that knows, what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Awesome. All right, Cody. Thank you, man. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks
for coming in.
Appreciate
your time. Sarah, take us away.
Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.